Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. We've got a lot going on. College basketball, NBA basketball, hockey. The Arizona Coyote season came to a close. They beat Edmonton last night. The fans were standing and chanting and hugging, and it went on and on. It's emotional. You know, they've been there almost 3 decades, and now they're moving. The official vote of the Board of Governors comes up today at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. And the last time I saw something like this, it was the Utah Regents voting to move from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. And that meeting lasted like 4 or 5 minutes. It was over so fast. I assume this Board of Governors will work the same way. They're losing money, and they got revenue sharing. And Arizona's playing at a 5,000-seat arena, and they don't want them to keep playing there and keep writing checks to support the team. So they're going to move. Ryan Smith spoke at a symposium and dropped the line. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, you know, you can't believe everything you read not everything you read on the internet is true, but this is mostly true. So it's pretty much, as Hot Rod once famously said, it's almost all over there. So I have the vote, and it's sad to watch teams move, and the fans were crushed there, but I'm sure the fans were crushed in Winnipeg when they moved to Arizona 28 years ago. And, you know, it was just cursed in Arizona. I mean, 7 different ownerships. I mean, a new ownership group every 4 years. No wonder they could never get the arena. No wonder no one ever trusted them. I mean, that amount of just turnover and change and craziness, and it's just it's not good, and that's a big part of why they're moving again, I guess. And then watching the Chargers and the Clippers moves are always lousy. They always are. And this one is too. It'll be good for Utah. But if it were happening here, everybody would be super depressed. So they just suck. But that is the way this one is going to play out. And the Board of Governors will have their vote at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. And then we'll move on from there. Presumably a press conference tomorrow. We'll see how that all plays out. The NBA news, a couple stories. Philly beats Miami. So Philadelphia is the 7 seed, and the 76ers will open the playoffs in New York against the 2 seed, the Knicks. And that feels like a bad draw for the Knicks, because Philly's much better than a 7 seed when they have Embiid, which right now they do. If they don't have him, well, we saw the losses pile up. But, man, you're number 2, and your reward is this is essentially a second-round series. You know, but it's the way they're going to open the playoffs. It's the luck of the draw. We'll see how well the Knicks and Sixers handle that, having a matchup in the first round. And then Miami loses to Philly, and Jimmy Butler hurts his knee. The reports are it's an MCL. Well, that means he's out until next season. So Miami's not going much of anywhere, but we'll sort out the rest of the playoffs here. The West, we get the last playoff berth tonight. Sacramento is at New Orleans, so we'll find out how that goes. All right, the big news in Provo. BYU's got a new basketball coach. The new head coach, Kevin Young, did a Q&A. They had a BYU TV show. Then he did a bunch of interviews, some with BYU TV. And then different groups came through, local TV, local radio, local newspaper, some of the local Utah County media. There were at least 4 sessions and went on and on. Kevin Young, Phoenix Suns assistant coach, and it turns out he's got a relationship with Danny Ainge. It goes back about a decade. He got interviewed for a G League job that he didn't get hired for, but it started the relationship with Ainge. He says Ainge has been great to him. And he was interviewed for the job with the Jazz that ultimately went to Will Hardy, and now he gets the BYU job. He's got a brother who works at Qualtrics and has built a bond with Ryan there. So, you know, the families know each other. So it's, you know the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's a little overstated. I mean, you have to know stuff. You know, you have to know. But, man, people hire people they know. Have a relationship, have an in, have a connection. Because otherwise, it's a lot harder to get hired in any job, including coaching. So, you want to hear from the coach? Here he is, Kevin Young. And this is the radio group of interview. You'll hear PK, you'll hear Kevin Reynolds, and you'll hear our own Jake Hatch, Yawk. Here they are talking with Kevin Young.
What attracted you to this job in the first place? Because I know you had NBA options as a potential head coach.
Yeah, kind of what I was talking about in there. I mean, I'd say the overall scope of the position in terms of how good the situation is here in terms of the resources, the Big 12, this sustainability to win and do it for a long time. Family reasons, being able to give my wife and kids a little bit more stability that the NBA life doesn't offer was a huge component. And then again, to be able to do it, in an environment where the church and the school are aligned, and my family's aligned with that really was a huge factor in it.
When you navigate the transfer portal and kind of get into that world, is there any colleges that you've looked at or staffs that you've looked at you think that are doing it well and maybe you can emulate?
Yeah, so as I'm talking about staffing, I'm trying to find guys who've had success with that portion of it, and I'm making some headway with some guys there. It's such an integral part of success in today's landscape, so definitely tapping into people that have done it at other programs.
When you're a college head coach, you take on virtually every hat that could possibly be worn, as far as, you're your own GM, you're a dad, and sometimes you're a babysitter and recruiting. Really, every coach, I've been doing this for 40 years, and they tell me that it's 24/7, and I know the travel is far more brutal in the NBA, but there's some things you don't have to deal with that you have to deal with here. How are you going to be prepared for it? It's just such an all-encompassing job now.
Yeah, I learned that pretty quickly on day one of the job. Like I said, I was on the phone nonstop, but I knew it was going to be part of it. And the NBA is obviously much more about just basketball, but there's still so many things you have to do in the NBA too. The travel thing is one of those, and that's such a time-consuming component of the job. But I'll be able to. That's why, again, I go back to the staff. It's such a huge piece to be able to insulate myself with people that are elite at navigating the college landscape from the recruiting standpoint, NIL standpoint, academic standpoint, and all the things that come with it. And I'm well aware of the figurehead role that I'm in. But when you're running your own program, that comes with the territory. And so I'm just going to embrace it, dive into it, and just enjoy the challenge that it presents.
Building off Kevin's question about the recruiting aspect, you have a brother who's been in the recruiting game for a long time. How big of a resource can he be for you? Yeah, no, he's always been a huge resource for me, honestly. Even when I got my first head coaching job in the old G League, he helped me with some staffing things there. He's my big brother, so we're super close. He's super dialed in with the whole grassroots scene and knows everybody in the space. So he'll be a massive resource for me, and look forward to tapping into that as much as I can.
Throughout the interview process, how much did you guys talk about the NIL infrastructure here, and did you kind of emphasize that as being competitive and wanting to have the long-term stability that you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my first questions. I told someone else earlier, one of my best friends is the head coach at St. Joseph's University in Philly. We were coaches together with the 76ers, and he was unbelievable in terms of peppering me with questions to ask all these guys to make sure I knew what I was getting into. But that gave me a ton of confidence, the answers they were giving me to those questions. This place wants to win, and they have the backing to do it, and it's really exciting.
How much do you think in the world of recruiting that it will be an advantage as you go out and talk to kids literally across the country and maybe internationally, big man, hey, you might want to talk to this guy, and that guy just happens to be Embiid, or a shooting guard, hey, maybe you want to talk to this guy, and it happens to be Devin Booker, because obviously you can use those guys within the rules as resources. How much do you think that's an advantage?
I think it's a huge advantage. If guys have aspiration to play in the NBA, that's what this place is going to be about. And I don't know if you're going to find a better place in the country that it's going to foster that. And so absolutely going to lean into those environments. But I wouldn't be able to lean into those if I didn't have good relationships with those guys that I coach. And Book's been incredible. I love him. He's been awesome to me, and we have a really good thing going. So I look forward to tying him into it.
I guess he's now calling this place KBYU. KYU, yeah.
There we go. That was a nice little play on words out of him, but that was pretty funny. Yeah.
One more question. Yeah, last thing for me is just with regards to this university had a pretty good season, all things considered. They picked 13th out of 14 in the preseason poll, finished 5th in the Big 12. What's your overarching ambition for this program to achieve while you're the head coach here?
The ultimate goal is to win a national championship. And when you're in the Big 12 and you have all the resources that this place offers, that is the ultimate goal. In terms of what they did last year, it's a credit to Mark and his staff and all those players that hopefully are wearing BYU uniforms in this coming up season. But it was remarkable what they did. So I'm just honestly trying to build on that and take it to another level.
There is BYU coach Kevin Young. We're going to hear his comments from the media Q&A coming up later this hour. But next, Duane Rankin covers the Phoenix Suns. And he joined PK and I, and we will get to that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK is proudly presented by Murdoch Chevrolet, serving Utah since 1926. Late in yesterday's show, PK and I talked with Duane Rankin, covers the Phoenix Suns down in Arizona, knows Kevin Young, has interacted with him. What is Kevin Young like? Well, we talked with Duane about that late in yesterday's show. We'll replay that for you right now. Duane, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Everybody and everything moving from Phoenix to Salt Lake. I never thought I would say that, but apparently here comes a hockey team, and definitely here comes a basketball coach. Starting to see a trend here. I guess the first question for you is, we don't know Kevin Young at all. How well do you know him, and how much can you tell us about him?
Well, first off, he was the player development coach for Devin Booker. So that's the initial start to what he has been with the Suns franchise. He was on the staff when the Suns went to the finals in 2021. So that's proven in situations of coaching under Monty Williams. He had a situation where he came in and made an immediate impact. He's a young guy in his 40s, and he's got a little kick to him, too. When he was in the G League, I remember him getting into it with some I think it was with another coach. It's on YouTube if you guys want to look it up.
I think it was Musselman.
Yeah, he got with Musselman. So he's got a little kick to it. He actually got into it, I think it was the Pelicans, in a game against the Pelicans when it broke out after Zion Williams had a breakaway three at the end. And then he was barking during the series with Denver last year on the sideline when Durant pushed Jokic away. And Kevin was involved. He got it stuck his nose in that. So he got some kick. He's kind of laid back when you talk to him, but he gets after it in that sense. But as far as his ability to coach, when you've coached in the G League, all you got to do is look at the history of the G League of guys that have came through that and been successful, i.e. Nick Nurse, i.e. Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah.
Those are guys that made that travel to the league. And Kevin, he was making that trajectory. He had been on several interviews, been a finalist for several NBA head coaching jobs. So I think eventually he would have gotten one. But obviously the opportunity came to go back home. He's from Salt Lake, of course, to coach BYU, and he took it, a long-term deal. And, I think it's a move for him that fits in terms of him being back home and BYU, the coaches. When you look at Frank Vogel and James Jones yesterday, just raving about what Young brings. I'm curious to see offensively what they look like because here in Phoenix, they ran pin downs and obviously movement, and but you got one-on-one players here. So, it kind of bogged down sometimes with just get a ball to Durant and Booker and Beal and let them go do something. I don't know if at that level he has guys like that. So I'm curious to see what that looks like outside of if he has any of those plans in mind. But from what I've seen in him and talked with him, he's got an offense that's beyond what we're seeing now. And so I'm curious to see what that is at BYU. But someone that have been in the running, like I said, for a lot of NBA head coaching jobs. So BYU's got a good one.
So his specialty is offense, then? Yes.
He's an offensive. He especially is an offensive coach. But I think when I speak of just on the attitude part of him, being someone that's highly competitive, I speak on that just because I think that might translate on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what that is. Can you keep the man in front of you, have an idea of, hey, look, I'm not letting you score. And so I think that you might see that part of him come out on the defensive side of the ball. That's one of the reasons I bring it up. He he and I have never went back and forth like that. So, but he has some kick to him, and I think that'll be interesting how that translates to the college level.
Duane Rankin, Phoenix Suns reporter and insider for the Arizona Republic, joining us here to talk about Kevin Young, former Suns assistant, now BYU's head coach. Obviously, when you go to coaching, you got to deal with recruiting. That's a different beast.
Right.
Maybe it's not quite as different a beast with NIL, but it's still a different beast. What kind of personality does he have? So much of that, college coaches have to charm the kids before they get them to practice and start yelling at them.
I think his demeanor will go over well with young players and with parents. Because, like I said, he's not when you're just speaking with him, when you're just talking to him, he's not not a loud, but he's commanding. And the other part of that, he can go in any house right now and say, I coach Devin Booker, I coach Kevin Durant, I coach Bradley Beal, I coach Chris Paul. I was on a staff that had Joel Embiid. Like, he can go and literally say that, and that'll get their attention right out the box.
Yep.
So when you're looking at just that alone, that's a good starting point. And then, like I say, when you're speaking with him, he has a real, laid back demeanor. Like I said, that has command. It's not like it's laid back and you can't hear him. It's like it's laid back, but he has a voice to him, and I've seen him recently at a practice. It was on a road trip and hit like 5 out of 6 threes. So he can get into some shooting competitions with guys and probably will win his share. So he can still play a little bit. Played in college a little bit, but he can still play. So that to me, that'll go over well too. If I'm 15, 16, and my head coach is splashing threes, I'm like, okay, that'll earn him some points with some guys. So, but again, he got to learn NIL, and he's got to brush up on that, because he's not going to officially start with BYU until after the playoffs. And if the Suns make a deep run, it's going to be time where he's probably going to be doing both. He's going to be doing both anyway, but it's going to be where he has to handle certain things for BYU and then obviously do his job, coaching the Suns. So it's going to be a lot there, but he's probably getting a crash course on what needs to be done in that sense. So, it's going to be sped up probably faster than maybe what he imagined. But as far as players, I think he'll get along with guys well in terms of, and with families. I think that's obviously important. You have to connect with parents, and I think he'll be a guy that does that.
BYU fans then, I assume, would be Minnesota Timberwolves fans to get Kevin Young on the job as soon as possible. And, I grew up in Phoenix, graduated from ASU, so I've been following my family, hardcore Suns fans, so I follow them, obviously, to an extent. And we know that they've had an up-and-down season, and They had 10 games that were tough at the end. They closed 7-3, but one of those, I think they were down, 50-2 or something. That's an exaggeration against the Clippers. But
that was against the Clippers, 35-4.
Okay, it felt like 50-2. And they got all this talent, and Grayson Allen's had a banner year and going to be financially rewarded. What do you think about their chances? Because they really haven't had any level of consistency, but maybe you can argue it took Beal all this time, and they're playing their best ball now.
Well, on top of that, they're playing a team that they've had success against in the first round.
Yep.
They swept this regular season series and won the games fairly convincingly. The closest margin was 10, and they held Minnesota to 87 points in that game. They scored 133 the first time they played them. This last one, they were up 22 in the first quarter. It's a bad matchup for the Timberwolves. Not saying the Timberwolves can't win the series, but if you're just basing it off of what you saw in the regular season, this is a challenging matchup for Minnesota. So wouldn't be surprised if the Suns advanced. The next round would be either Lakers or Nuggets. That's a little more challenging, although the crazy part about that is that the Suns went 2-1 against the Nuggets, and they won the last 2 games against the Lakers after the first 3 games were within the first month and a half. They played their third game against the Lakers in December. So they hadn't played them in a while, and the last 2 times they played them, they won both games. So you can make an argument that the Suns, if they play at their best, could make it to the Western Conference Finals. Or, because they've been so inconsistent, could lose in the first round.
This is such high stakes because they are paying so much money to some guys. And that, Durant, I mean, I don't think he's going to be Tom Brady and at the top of his game at 44 and 45. So this is it. Now, they said the right things. Are they really happy with him taking this job? Or it's all business and the timing is what it is and everybody just rolls with it? Or is there a little bit, I can't believe he's bailing out on us right now. This is when it really matters. How's this going over?
I guess the way I look at it is, Kevin, he was the holdover from William's staff. And when you're the holdover, I mean, they paid him, for him to stay. He'd get more than $2 million a year. Obviously, he'd get much more at BYU, but they paid him to, and he's just part of he was a part of the transition. They're bringing in new staff, trying to figure out what to do, get their bearings together. Obviously, he was on the offense in that sense, but I don't think it's upset that he's leaving. Because he's staying with them through the playoffs for one, and then two, I think that Kevin was trying to get another job anyway. It's not like they were like, oh, why are you? No, he was already trying to get an NBA head coaching job. So when you're in this business, you don't look at it as, or you shouldn't look at it as, hey, why are you leaving? It should be, oh, okay, we did our part to help him get an opportunity to be a head coach. And so that's how it should be viewed, and I believe in a lot of respects that is how it's being viewed by the Suns. I don't sense them being upset. I hear what you guys are saying. They said all the right things yesterday. He's been great to us, and we're happy for him. And I believe all those things to be true. But I don't think I don't get the sense that they're upset that he's leaving. I get the sense that they look at this and go, okay, this is an opportunity for him to go back home and be a part of something and with BYU, and obviously this is a great time to go there considering what they're doing with the conference. And so this is an ideal situation in terms of him getting this chance. And there have been NBA assistants that have gone on to be college head coaches. So the move is not a shock in terms of when you think of it like that. So I don't sense them being upset at all, to be completely honest.
We know that the Brooklyn head coaching job was a possibility. We've heard Charlotte, and then Ainge in his postseason wrap-up mentioned that he had interviewed Kevin for a potential spot with the Jazz. So that's at least 3. It seems like momentum was moving in the direction of him becoming an NBA head coach. With that in mind, whether it was this year, next year, or whatever, do you have any level of surprise that he said, I'll take the college head coaching job?
If it wasn't going back home, yes. But
Okay.
I think that draw. I think sometimes people, I'm not speaking of anyone specific, but I just think sometimes people don't realize the importance of being in a familiar surrounding. That can make you, look at opportunities that maybe you wouldn't look at anywhere else. And I think that's part of it. And then there's also usually this window for guys, that are getting these interviews and getting these head coaching interviews, and there's a window that like a year window, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 4 years, J. Larnega is a perfect example. Like, there was a time when he was an assistant in Boston. His name was out there for every head coaching job. And then up until recently, he was out of that window. So there was a window right now for Kevin Young. And he could have stayed and probably got another opportunity, interview. He could have stayed and did that. But also, look, I mean, if you just look at, teams and things of that nature with the league, when you see how it changes so quickly, there's something also to be said about stability. And based on what I've, heard and about the contract at BYU, there's some stability there. And so, he's got a family. So there's a lot that goes into, okay, I'm making this decision. And I think that a lot of factors led into it outside of being a head coach. So you have to take all those things, I think, into account when you look at, why wouldn't he stick around and try to get an NBA head coaching job? And if he does well at this level, that might be there for him later. So it isn't like that door is shut now because he's coaching college. That door is still going to be there because people will look at him and go, he coached X, Y, and Z, or he coached in the NBA number of years. So that's not out of the realm of him getting back in. Because guys have done it. They've coached the NBA, coached in college,
right.
And back to the NBA. So.
And he's got age on his side.
Yeah. He's not. I love him for it, but he's not Greg Popovich age. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
This guy he's this young guy. I mean, so he could easily be right back in. And I think it's good for him in terms of it's your show. He's been running somebody else's show. It was about time for him to start running his. And, he and I have recently talked about that. It's like, is it time? This was like maybe a week and a half ago. When we just talked, I was like, hey, is it time? Is it time for you to, is it? And he wasn't, like, yeah, it's time for, no, he wasn't saying that, but, he was just kind of, nodding like, hey, it's time. And clearly him going to BYU is an indication of that.
He's Duane Rankin, Phoenix Suns reporter and insider for the Arizona Republic. Duane, we appreciate a few minutes, and if you hear of anybody else in the world of sports moving north to Salt Lake, give us a heads up, all right?
I'll let them know. Talk to you guys first.
All right. Thank you, Duane.
All right, guys.
There's Duane Rankin. When we come back, you're going to hear from Kevin Young, the full media Q&A at his press conference on the floor of the Marriott Center. That is coming up next right here on The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. A reminder, golfers, don't miss the UNA Golf Multi-Vendor Demo Day happening this Saturday at Mulligan's Golf and Games. This is your chance to try out the new releases from all the major golf manufacturers and register to win free prizes. It's all happening Saturday at Mulligan's Golf and Games. You win a golf, unmatched service, unmatched expertise. All right, they had a press conference, a welcome for Kevin Young on the floor of the Marriott Center, and we'll let you listen into his comments and the questions he takes from the media right now, right here on The Zone.
Wow, this is exciting for me and my family. Just, I don't know, when you're doing everything on the phone and you're not here to feel the energy and just feel this building. When you step foot in here, even my kids, that this place is going to be rocking. We're going to get this thing rolling. So excited to be here. I really want to first start by thanking a couple people. Brian and Tom, President Reese, Keith, that foursome, when we met, it got clear pretty quickly that this was going to be something that me and my wife were going to have to make an amazing decision to join. And it became obvious pretty quickly as we were talking about how amazing this place is. And I'll speak to that a little bit more, but I really want to thank you four guys in particular as we went through the process. As President mentioned, I got a lot of my family here. I want to first thank my wife. She's been my rock for 13 years, and the coaching world is one that's not easy on families. It's not easy raising little ones, and we got 3 of them. Jude, Van, and Zoe have been right there with us for a good majority of it, so excited that they're here with us too. And then my mom and dad and all my siblings are here as well, so I'm one of 6, and even Aaron, what's up, dude? Haven't seen you. Even BYU alum, I might add, so he's here. Meg, hey, and a couple of my nieces too. So it's a really special day for our family, and we certainly don't take it lightly. So I also want to thank a few other people that have been really instrumental in me getting here. James Jones and Matt Ishpugh with the Phoenix Suns, and Coach Vogel, who I'm working for now, Monty Williams, who's been a huge mentor of mine and is an outstanding guy. And funny enough, opened up every meeting with an opening prayer. True story for the last couple of years in Phoenix, so pretty used to that. Brett Brown, who hired me in Philadelphia, is one of my greatest mentors. And a couple of people that got me to Utah in the first place, Brian Anderson and Joe Brown. Coach Hunsaker at Utah Valley, who I worked for, and then so many other people that I can get to, but I definitely want to shout that group out. Where I really want to start this thing with is the players. Okay, these guys were the first ones I saw when I got into this building. The things that you guys were able to, I just told all of them so in the locker room, the things you guys were able to accomplish first year in the Big 12, absolutely remarkable. Cannot wait to have every one of you guys back in a BYU uniform and get to it. That was one, yes, let's give that up. And so that, make no mistake about it, that's my first priority is those guys, and I've already started building relationships with those guys, and we're going to take that part of it to a whole nother level. That's, if I've learned anything in the NBA, it's about, this whole thing is about relationships. I've been able to build some with some of the best players in the world. I'm currently still working with those guys and hoping to take them to somewhere they haven't been yet in this playoff run. But that's what it's all about, is those relationships. So those guys heard me talk about it a few minutes ago, and look forward to that. With that being said, this is a new challenge for me. I've been on a different side of basketball all of my career, and as I went through the process, getting to this decision, the excitement I had for the new challenge at hand in terms of transitioning to the college world, coming from the world I was in, got me extremely excited the more I started to wrap my head around what that looks like. And the thing that really moved the needle for me and my wife was the environment that we're going to be doing it in here at BYU, what this university stands for, what the mission of this university is. I'm a lifelong member of the church. So to be able to do what I love at the highest level from a career standpoint and blend that with my faith and being able to do it with my wife and my 3 little ones, that's why we came here, okay? That's why we came here. And that's really special. So on top of that, man, the thing that's blown me away is just the level of support from the athletic department, from the university, from many people, the resources that this place has, the fact that it's in the Big 12, the highest level of college basketball. There was a lot of things that played a role into me coming here, and that was one of the big ones. Just a couple other things I wanted to hit on before we move on to some of the questions was, I just want to make it clear that I coming from my background and talking to the players, a lot of guys have, not a lot, all of them have ambition to play in the NBA, and I think with my background, this is an amazing place, has been for a long time. What I want to do to take it to the next level is make this place the best place in college basketball to prepare young men to play in the NBA, and I think with my background, I think we're going to be able to get that done, and I really look forward to doing that. What I've also learned really quickly is, because of the history of this school and this program and what you guys have been able to accomplish long before I showed up, in addition with the resources, in addition to what the reputation of this school is, players want to play here. I've learned that quickly. players want to play here and coaches want to coach here. And I'm in the process now of putting together a staff, talking to a lot of different people. This is a very desirable place to be. I look forward to teaming up with a lot of elite people that we're going to get in here to do this thing together. And with that, let's go Cougs.
Mic check. At this time, we'll open things up for questions for the media for Coach Young. Please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring the microphone to you. Please stand, state your name and your news outlet.
Patrick Kinahan, KSL. Was it a hard decision to come here knowing that maybe, at least for a temporary season or so, that, and when I say season, I don't mean literal, I mean a time of life, that the NBA dream of being a head coach might be put on hold?
No, not really. Once I realized how special this place was, it became easier and easier, to be honest with you. And when I've known a lot of these guys, Tom and Brian, like he said, we go back some years. But when President Reese and Keith came down and we were talking, that moved the needle quite heavily for me, to be honest with you. As it relates to the NBA and the dream and so forth, truth be told, it's never actually really been my dream to be a head coach in the NBA. I love basketball. I love working with young players. I love developing players. I love building relationships. And to be able to do all those things at a place that has the family atmosphere that I so desired for my kids and my wife to be around, it actually became a really easy choice.
John Kuhn, Associated Press. BYU's had a tradition the last couple of years of having kind of a wide open offense, emphasis on three-point shooting. What's your philosophy in terms of offense and defense that you plan to bring to BYU?
Yeah, I've been kind of my label, so to speak, in the NBA world has been, I've run the offense of every team that I've been a part of, and a lot of that's been based around where the NBA shifted to, which is kind of how BYU has played over the last couple of years. Fast pace, getting up and down, spreading the floor out, 5 out, read and react. So there's going to be a lot of that. I was encouraging our guys to, watch this series of the Suns and the T-Wolves to kind of take notes on how we're doing some things there. So there'll be some similarities with teams I've coached in the NBA for sure, but I think I'm a modern thinker of the game. I want to push the envelope and analytically push the envelope, with shooting threes, as you mentioned. And defensively, that's where I get really excited, because I've been able, on the offensive side so long in the NBA, you see how elite defenses guard certain things, and I've been able to put together a pretty extensive defensive background that, with the rules in college obviously being different, I look forward to being able to scheme and get creative here on that side of the ball as well.
Lloyd, Daily Herald. The college game may be closer to the professional game than it's ever been at this point, but it's still different. What's it like? What do you think it's going to be like to adapt to the challenges of NIL, transfer portal, all of those elements that are a little different in the college world than they are in the NBA world?
Yeah, obviously that what you just spoke on, the last bit there, is the biggest difference. The big thing for me there is, number one, great support here in terms of administration, how things are run here. That put me I was scared of that, to be honest with you, still am. But being able to rely on the people that are here, and then that's the huge priority to me with the staff, is having people that I can surround myself with that have an amazing grasp on that, but not just a grasp on it, that are elite at navigating those waters that can really help me do what I think I'm best at.
Hi, I'm Greg Wrubell. I'm your radio play-by-play guy.
All right.
Once upon a time, you were part of a couple of college coaching staffs. What excites you most about being back in the college game generally, and about being at BYU specifically?
So, some of you guys might know some of my history, maybe not. It's not going to be the first time I've lived in the area. I coached for the Utah Flash, which was the old minor league of the Jazz. I lived in BYU housing and met my wife while she was a student at BYU. So I'm familiar with everything that's going on around here. And when I was doing it, that was during the Jimmer's era here. I remember coming to a game here, I believe it was against Wake Forest, and that was my first time ever coming to a game here. And that was the most incredible atmosphere I'd been in at the college level. And so that's what excites me, the passion, it's crazy in here. I mean, the hype video had me hype. I was ready to get these guys running suicides and get to it right now. But yeah, it's just different. So for my kids, my family, my boys and my daughter Zoe, they haven't experienced that passion. Really, the NBA, you get it some, but not like it is here. So that's probably the thing that excites me the most, is just the overall passion that this place has.
Matt Baiamonte, KSL News Radio. How do you plan on juggling finishing up with the Phoenix Suns and getting started here at BYU?
Fantastic question. It's going to be a challenge, but I look forward to it because a lot of special things and relationships I have with those guys down at Phoenix. A couple of them I've been with for 4 years, and 2 wins away from winning an NBA championship with Book in particular. He's kind of the main guy left from that crew, so I'm invested in those guys. But in terms of how I plan on juggling, the staffing piece is huge. I've been working tirelessly on that. I've been on the phone more in the last 24 hours than I have. In fact, Kalani almost body slammed me because he's like, "Bro, I texted you. What's up?" And but he knows how it is. But that's my first, outside of these players, man, that's my first matter of business, is getting a staff put together that can hold the fort down. But at the same time, I think it's a really unique experience to tell the next chapter of BYU's story in terms of leveraging this playoff run that hopefully we're on, both for our players, for our fans, for recruits, for all that stuff. And I think it's a really separator, I believe.
Jake Hatch, the KSL Sports Zone. Building off Matt's question, how are you going to adapt to recruiting? Because you haven't had to do that in 15 years in the NBA.
Yep. It's what I'm learning is it's actually starting to trend to more similar to the way that the NBA works, as I'm learning the ins and outs of it. But again, leveraging relationships. Man, I've been coaching for almost 20 years. I know people at every level. It's been amazing to just kind of have a reminder of how big, my network actually is. And again, relationships in this business are of the utmost importance, both with the players and with the people that on the grassroots front, agents, coaches, the whole 9 yards. So my own personal network, but the staff piece is enormous there. I'm going to surround myself with people that's what they're elite at, and that's what's going to help us the most.
Darnell Dixon, Daily Herald. Can you take us through the timeline of when you became aware that the job was open, and then your interaction with Tom and Brian getting to this point?
That'd be a great movie, actually. Yeah. Honestly, at this point, all the days are running together, so I don't remember exactly how things went down. But just to be transparent, I was making the interview circuit in the NBA on some head coaching fronts, and all the while we had a 6 or 7 day road trip with the Suns. So I would break off from them and go have meetings with executives and owners, and then fly back and meet the team and so forth. So I was already juggling a lot. And then right when I landed from one of those meetings, I had gotten a word of Coach Pope leaving to Kentucky, which tremendous opportunity for him. And shortly after that, my phone rang. And then just wildfire happened after that, to be honest with you. So I was juggling a lot. Me and my wife, the tricky part, honestly, was her and I weren't together. I was on the road. We was in LA, Sac, Minnesota, and we were trying to make maybe arguably the biggest decision of our lives. And so I was trying to tell everyone involved, man, I just got to get home. I just got to get home to my wife. I got to look at her in the eyes, and we got to talk this thing through. And it's been a wild ride, but we obviously landed in an amazing place.
Coach, Dave McCann from BYU TV and the Deseret News. Congratulations and welcome. I want to follow up on that just a moment. Can you take us to that first conversation with your wife when you told her that BYU called and how that played out? And then also when you go back to the Suns, have they seen you with a cleanly shaven face where you have to reintroduce yourself?
So I'll start there. So I walked into practice. So we had practice this morning in Phoenix, so we're getting ready for the playoffs, as I keep saying. But no, they hadn't actually. So I walked in there, and all the guys were kind of looking at me, and we had a good laugh about it. But funny enough with that, my wife's been wanting me to shave for like 13 years, so the fact that here it is, so she's happy about that. But in terms of her first reaction, though, a lot of emotion, and I'm actually going to take you past her first emotion. We were in midair, actually. I was flying from SAC to go to Minnesota, actually, and she sent me a really long text that let me know, how she felt about everything that we had going on. That was really impactful for me, and she's as excited or more about this opportunity than I am, but she had a major, major influence on me coming here and what it would do for our family life, and she's amazing. Love you, babe. Thanks for everything, and Cougar Nation, I honestly wouldn't be here if she was in the mix, so.
Jay Drew, Deseret News. Kevin, when did you first decide that you wanted to be a coach, to be in this profession? And when did it first cross your mind the possibility existed that you could be the coach of BYU?
So I was really lucky as a player. I always had really good coaches. The whole reason I wanted to be a coach was my high school coach, Roger Quam, who I should have shouted out at the beginning. So, Coach, I apologize for that. But he's had probably he's been the most impactful person on my life as a youngster when I was in high school, and I wanted to be like him. He had a great life. He had 5 kids, and he coached basketball and taught PE every day. And I was like, that seems pretty cool. And so that's what I want. I wanted to be just like him. And then I played in college and jumped right into coaching, and one thing led to another that took me to a different path. But in terms of ever thinking I could be the coach at BYU, got connected with Brian and Tom about 4 or 5 years ago through a mutual connection when I was out in Philadelphia, and kind of some seeds were planted, and in the back of my mind I thought, maybe one day that's something that would happen, and never in a million years thought it would happen at the timeline that it did. But I'm a firm believer everything truly does happen for a reason, and it's amazing how everything lined up for it to happen right now.
There's Kevin Young, the new basketball coach at BYU. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Oubre back to Maxey. Maxey to the side. Batum with 3. He shoots a 2 on Butler. Rimming no. Rebound tipped by Embiid. He gets it back, shoots it, and makes it. And they call a foul. Embiid with a rebound at 10 feet away off the Batum miss.
He was able to still move a little bit in that second quarter after it, but then as the second half went on, started to limit him a little bit more, just the movement. But we'll see. We have no idea. Right now, we'll see when we get back to Miami.
Here come the Bulls. Over the timeline, Kobe has been spectacular. With the spin to the rim and the finish. What a play by Kobe White. He just put the entire Hawks front in the spin cycle. Kobe open right elbow 3. Bam! It's a 40 bag for Kobe White.
Highlights from the Eastern Conference playoff game there. The Philadelphia 76ers were down 12 at halftime, and they rallied to beat the Miami Heat 105-104. Embiid gave them 23 points and 15 rebounds, and one of your all-time favorite names, Nick Batum, 20 points off the bench, and Philly beats Miami. And you heard the little description there of the injury to Jimmy Butler, reportedly an MCL. That's what they fear. In which case, well, there go Miami's playoff hopes, and he's out for the duration. See you next season.
Okay, bye.
Bye. You got nothing on Nick Batum? You love Nick Batum.
It's Nicky Batum. He had his day, man.
He did. That he did. They're
Time to find your place in the sun.
Philly's on to face the Knicks. Miami goes home to host Boston. Excuse me. To host the Chicago Bulls. No.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's why I said excuse me. Chicago Bulls. Bulls beat the Atlanta Hawks 123-116. Quinn Snyder sent home.
Why did he take that job?
I don't know. It seems like
you don't?
No.
I didn't think he did, though.
Well, you said, why did he take that job?
It was rhetorical.
What?
Not all questions are direct.
I mean, I didn't think you did.
None of us really know. It doesn't make much sense.
There's so many better jobs that were going to come available, and it's just like no man's land there.
They couldn't stop Kobe White. He had 42 points. He had the crowd going crazy. So the Bulls are off to Miami. They'll play for the 8th spot in the East and the right to get smoked by the Boston Celtics.
I think it's fair to say he is 6'5", but 6'9" with the afro. And, his last name is White, but his first name is Alec, and his middle name is Jacoby. That's weird, and they call him Kobe. I guess it's the second portion
of his middle name.
Yeah. But I like Alec better. I'm going to go with Alec White from here on out.
The NBA banned Toronto Raptors center Jonte Porter from the league after investigation revealed he had disclosed confidential information to bettors, limited his participation in at least one game while he was with the Raptors, bet on the Raptors to lose at least one game, and bet on NBA games while in the G League. That is some kind of trifecta right there.
Yeah, you wonder why he would do that. What's going through his mind? You bored? You don't need the money. It's not worth the risk, obviously. And here we've had the Dodgers interpreter, and now Porter's younger brother, Porter, the guy for the Nuggets, who's an integral part of their team.
Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, and just you have to ask yourself, why? Why be involved in that? What's going through your mind when you think that, hey, I'm going to do this? I'm really fascinated to see. He knows the penalty. It's not like it could be a big surprise to him. And why risk it, Is it an addiction? No, certainly there is a gambling addiction. Does he have that? How do you get that? And put so much on the line for a little reward. And the family has got to have enough money by now. It's so sad and unfortunate.
Maybe nobody knew what kind of trouble he was in, and he built up the gambling debts. Who knows how long he'd been gambling or what the debts looked like that he felt he had to do that?
Yeah, but you don't wake up one day and one day you don't have it and the next day you do. It's a process. And what are you thinking as you're going through the process? What is your mindset? There should be studies on that to help others better understand it and to help others not get involved in that.
No NBA basketball tonight. The play-in games conclude Friday with a doubleheader, Bulls and Heat at 5 on ESPN, Kings and Pelicans on TNT after that. And then we'll know the 16, and then we can get going Saturday with the full tournament. No hoops tonight. I thought the West game was tonight, but it's tomorrow night.
Oh, fetch. What am I going to do?
Baseball.
DJ and PK. Hashtag college basketball.
I just want to make it clear that coming from my background and talking to the players, all of them have ambition to play in the NBA. And I think with my background, we're going to build. This is an amazing place, has been for a long time. What I want to do to take it to the next level is make this place the best place in college basketball to prepare young men to play in the NBA. And I think with my background, I think we're going to be able to get that done. And I really look forward to doing that.
That's the new basketball coach at BYU, Kevin Young. He was introduced, press conference on the Marriott Center floor. An NBA pipeline running through Provo that helps.
I don't see it. I don't think it's going to be the
games.
best place to prepare for the NBA. I don't think he can get it done. It would be amazing if he could, but I don't see it.
Duke, North Carolina, Arkansas now with Calipari and a history of sending guys to the NBA.
But the challenge is there.
Or they're recruiting the best guys, but he's got the best development program.
Well, whatever. Yeah. Whatever it takes to get to the NBA. But I appreciate his lofty goals. I mean, Dave Rose spoke, 20 years ago? He was going to get him to the Final Four and all. You have to have those goals. And I think he's bringing a level of excitement into the program that, I've covered now 4 BYU coaching hires, and maybe things are changing and everything is bigger and better and all that stuff. Maybe not better, but it's bigger. and it seems like there was more excitement here. Now, he does have the NBA background that the others did not have. And what does that mean? It'll be interesting to see what happens there, because he's got to be careful. You simply can't at BYU, and this was explained to me by leadership, so it's not mine, and you can come after me. I'm too old to worry about that crap. But that you have to be careful in your composition of your lineups at BYU. They have to adjust to you. You can't bring in to where you're adjusting to them. And Whittingham says that with his program.
They become us.
Yeah.
We do not become them. Whenever he brings in a transfer who's had trouble of one type or another, that's what he always says.
Yeah, anybody, but for sure that. But it's different at BYU. And so how do you go about that? Because surely there's not going to be 2 or 3 Latter-day Saint players capable of making the NBA every year. It's not going to happen.
That's not how it's looked for the last however many decades ever, right? Yeah. I was going to say
since Adam and Eve.
30 years since you and I have been here.
But there was a level of excitement that was palatable. And I told Tom Holmoe, hey, good job, man. Looks like you really hit it out of the park. You've won the press conference. You won the press conference before the press conference, and then you won the press conference. And now where do you go? I'm rooting for Kevin Young. He and I, we're boys, man. He lived in South Jersey. I lived in South Jersey for a time.
I thought you were in North Jersey.
Hence for a time. The summers, because my sister moved there to go to college and then lived there. And then when we would go to the Jersey Shore, there's 2 different Jersey Shores all being the same state. You've got the North and you've got the South. Hence
all right, well, you got a legitimate link in.
And then he lived in Gilbert. In 2 weeks from today, I will be in Gilbert.
I heard you say Thunderbird High to him. I couldn't quite hear him, but I heard you say Thunderbird High.
Yeah, he kissed me on the cheek. He asked me where I went.
I figured. More with Kevin Young coming up, and also wherever you get your podcast, listen to the last hour. Man, that was a lot of Kevin Young in the last hour. So the first hour of today's show is him in one-on-one interviews, him in the press conference setting, the Phoenix Suns beat writer who knows him. We played that as well. So if you're a Cougar fan, you want to know more about Kevin Young, the first hour of our show, wherever you get podcasts, check it out. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
I legitimately lost my Super Bowl ring in this event. They could not find it. We have still yet to find it. All of this stuff has been thrown away, so I think we can safely assume that my Super Bowl ring is now in a landfill someplace in the Cincinnati tri-state area. I didn't think that would happen. We've already put the insurance claim in, which I think the insurance company might have some things to say about whether they're going to cover that.
Jason Kelce losing his Super Bowl ring. It's in a dump somewhere in southern Ohio. Somewhere around Cincinnati.
Well, it could be the other 2 states, hence the tri-state. He did not limit it to exclusively one
Maybe
state.
Cincinnati's trash got trucked to northern Kentucky is what you're saying.
Well, there's another state in there, apparently. If there's tri, there has to be 3.
Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts says he's eager to work with and learn from new Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, but that he desires to have some continuity at the OC position after Brian Johnson was fired. His only extended run with an OC came in 2021 and 2022 with now Indianapolis Colts head coach Shane Steichen. He helped Hurts put together an MVP caliber season in 2022. Obviously, he moved on for the Colts job. Continuity. You speak of it often, PK, and Jalen Hurts is craving it.
Well, that's not going to fly. It's great to have it, but you're still charged with winning games.
And in his case, playoff games and a Super Bowl. Former Patriots coach Bill Belichick will be teaming with ESPN personality Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee Show Draft Spectacular, airing the first night of the draft on YouTube and ESPN+. Belichick looking for stuff to do in the media before he tries to get back in the NFL next offseason. Story out there that his owner in New England told the owner in Atlanta, don't trust Bill. And that wrecked his candidacy with the Falcons.
I don't know that it has to be in the offseason.
If somebody gets fired 12 games in, Bill could swoop in, I'm ready. Let's go.
It's happened before.
O.J. Simpson was cremated yesterday. The lawyer handling his estate said Simpson died last week after being diagnosed with prostate cancer last year. There'll be no public memorial service for Simpson. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
A new NCAA transfer rule will allow all undergraduate athletes to transfer and play immediately as many times as they want during their career if they meet specific academic requirements, including being academically eligible and meeting progress towards degree requirements at their new school. Will we see someone at 5 schools in 5 years?
Seems extreme.
D1 Council also moved forward on legislation that would allow schools to be more actively involved in securing sponsorship deals for their athletes. Schools could still not directly pay athletes, but they could facilitate NIL opportunities between third parties and athletes, provided athletes disclose their deals.
What?
They're inching closer to being employees and getting paid.
They're bringing it in-house, and the way the athletes will be able to participate in this, they have to essentially tell the school what they're being paid by whatever deals they have.
Yeah, checked out, man.
Texas Longhorns coach Steve Sarkisian acknowledged yesterday the possibility of replacing former Alabama Crimson Tide coach Nick Saban entered his mind when Saban announced his retirement. Quote, naturally, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it, but it took me all about 60 seconds to see, yeah, I'm not doing that. I had 2 awesome years at Alabama and loved my time under Coach Saban, but ultimately you want to reap what you sow. We poured a ton into this program for 3 years, and we're on the cusp, I think, of going on a run that'll be epic. I believe that. Our staff does, and our players do. Just the support we have and the culture we've created here, why leave something like that? Sarkisian stays at Texas.
The Utes get a transfer from Texas. Oh, my gosh. Did I say Texas? Because you said Texas.
Yep.
It's a Syracuse. Damian Alford.
Wide receiver.
Oh, another one, man. He's going to be it.
Hey, don't forget about Paul Fitzgerald transferring.
Yeah, but he's a DN. They already have great DNs. I mean, they've had 5,000 of them. That's good. Good for him. But another receiver, he's going to be the one. Last year it was Pittman. A few years back it was Theo Howard.
They keep coming. He scored 3 touchdowns at Syracuse, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure he did.
Why you ask me?
Because they thought you had the story in front of you. That's what you just said, and you're looking at your computer. Your hands are on your computer. They typed it up. Now his hands are in the air. Show me your hands.
I didn't look up his stats.
Okay.
I'm figuring if he was big time, why the hell would he leave?
13 touchdown guy isn't taking off, but 3 touchdown guy is going to hit the road.
Unless he got a huge, a big bag. We saw Dorian Singer. Oh, and Dorian Singer's here, man. Jeez. I wonder who the other all-conference receivers are going to be this year. We've got 2 of them.
Alfred is 6'6".
Well, I thought he was 6'5".
Big target. Alfred has great. West Coast College Football says he's 6'6", and he racked up 610 yards receiving last year.
Good. Add another player, man. You got Cam Rising. I don't know that expectations have ever been higher for Utah.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
First pitch to Josh is ripped up the alley in right center. It gets down for the base hit. Duane around third. He comes in to score. The throw goes into second. Smith is standing there with an RBI double, and the Rangers are up now 5-4.
Schwarber rips it deep down the right side. Hooking in the corner. It is gone. It's off the facing of the second deck. And it's a 2-homer game for Kyle Schwarber. He smoked that pitch.
Yes, he did. Every time you say his name, I'm thinking Buckaloo.
Fly ball, right center field, hit well by Trout. Series on the run over near the wall. It is gone to the opposite field. Mike Trout launches one. The first home run allowed by Littell, and it's the 8th already this year for Trout.
The 1-2 pitch, fly ball, right field. This one is way out there. Kirilloff looking it back. Cedric Mullins, 2-run walk-off, and the Orioles sweep it against Minnesota. Mullins matches it over the wall and right, and the Orioles complete the sweep of the Minnesota Twins. You can bucket for the Birds.
Orioles sweep the Twins. Thank you, Cedric Mullins, for your first career walk-off homer. You also heard in there Mike Trout going deep. He's got 8 homers on the year. Angels beat the Rays 5-4.
I'll tell you how great Mike Trout is. I saw a social media post. You know when the on-deck batter's telling the runner coming home to get down? Mm-hmm. Well, Mike, the keen South Jersey a la Kevin Young mind that he has, not just telling the runner to get down, but he's moving his hands to the left, meaning you need to go around the catcher and to just sweep and barely touch the plate with your left hand.
It's going to be that close. If you come right down the line,
so he's just
he'll
not
get
going
you.
slide. He's telling them how and where and the type of slide to execute. If that's not genius, I simply don't know what is.
Angels with the win, even their record at 9-9 on the year.
That's 500 after 18 games, I believe.
You are correct. Nationals shut out the Dodgers on 5 hits, 2-0. Shohei Ohtani had 3 of the Dodgers' 5 hits, but nobody else could come through, and the Nationals, like the Dodgers. Dodgers have lost 5 of 6 now.
I wouldn't have bet on that.
You heard Josh Smith with a pinch hit, RBI double.
Josh Smith, pinch coming off the bench is what you're saying.
Rangers beat the Tigers 5-4, yes. Best record in baseball out of the gate here, the Atlanta Braves. Playing 700 ball. They just keep rolling. Break up the Braves. Bees, they lost to the Reno Aces 6-4. Same 2 teams will play tonight. 6:20 the pregame. Tony Park's on the air. And then first pitch at 6:35. DJ and PK.
Golf.
The RBC Heritage underway. Hilton Head, South Carolina. Tony Finau, West High product. In the field. Tournament's already underway. How many awesome courses are supposed to be in Hilton Head? That's supposed to be a golf haven out there. So many courses.
Never been there. I don't know, but there's supposed to be a ton. There's one Weisenheimer who was there one week, and every day he would text me his agenda of playing golf just to get under my skin, and it worked.
You want to tell us who that was?
No. I keep those types of communications private.
But we'd all know the name, huh?
I believe so.
DJ and PK.
Yeah, I think there's no real way to handle what's going on right now and what's in the air. I think amongst the group, obviously, that there's no hate towards Salt Lake City because they're welcoming us with open arms, and we don't want there to be hate across the board from fans here towards them because the people there had nothing really to do with it. They've been welcoming and supportive of us too. So I think there's no real way to really go about it. Obviously, take it day by day and see what's going to happen.
Yotes Watch.
That is Josh Doan on the move to Salt Lake City. He is an Arizona native on the Coyotes.
Just a week ago, you did not even know who Josh Doan was.
I didn't.
Now you know.
Learn the new team. You're the one who told us his dad, Shane, is a legend down there, career scoring leader. He's the man.
He is, yeah. And his son.
Hence, he's an Arizona native because obviously Pop's playing for the team.
And, yeah, his son is an up-and-coming player for them. It's sad. I mean, it's over. It's really weird because hockey's a niche sport, but it's got a big niche. There's no doubt about that. And the people who are into it are way into it. Sort of like your sport that you champion because it's to your advantage to do it. And this team's now leaving, and it's sad. But at the same time, we're literally about 24 hours, a little longer than that, away from making it official. And I don't necessarily feel the outrageous buzz that I think it should have here. Am I wrong on that? We can get to that because we're getting long here as you read scores. This takes a long segment. It's the longest segment we have all day, which has always baffled me. But nevertheless, I think there should be more buzz.
Be interesting to see if they do some kind of public event, how many people show up so you can really measure it.
Oh, they will.
They have to.
So,
Well, eventually there'll be an opener, right?
It's already. I've been told about it.
You've been told about what's going on Friday?
Well,
No.
yeah.
I'm not giving it up.
Well,
There's
it
press
can't happen at 1 o'clock today because the Board of Governors are meeting at 1 o'clock today.
Understood.
And they will vote on the sale relocation. Feels like a big old rubber stamp.
Well, it is.
Yeah. At 1 o'clock today, the Board of Governors will make it official.
Be ready for other things tomorrow, though.
And beyond that.
There's what's trending coming up. Jay Drew's going to join us, beat writer for the D News, 8:30. Talk about the Cougars' new head coach with him. Also later in the show, Mike Weir, former Masters champ. And if you missed Kevin Young with PK and Yawk and Kevin Reynolds, we will get to that coming up as well. Question of the day is next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Phoenix Suns associate head coach Kevin Young is filing a long-term deal to become the next head coach at BYU. That's a huge hire. Kevin Young is the top assistant in the NBA right now. This is beyond best case scenario for the Cougars. This is a who's who of coaches. This is a real muscle flex from BYU to show that they still have a ton of power. I'm stunned. In all honesty, that's a crazy hire. He interviewed for the Jazz job before Will Hardy got it. He's been interviewing for the Raptors job. Like, you are not getting NBA coaches leaving the NBA when their next job is an NBA head coaching job to go to college. That is crazy. Now, what does he do with the job? Can he recruit? How does he get players, et cetera, et cetera? Those are all very big storylines, but you could not have hit a better grand slam. He might be a better coach than Mark Pope.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith on the NHL in Salt Lake City. I have incredible faith in the people of Utah. We show up, it'll be packed. Closed quote. Are you going to be part of the package?
Get it?
I see what
package.
you did. It's very clever. It's great wordplay. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Ryan, I'm all in. And he can have my tax money too. I trust Ryan more than the government. I got some thumbs up and laughing emojis.
Ryan is the government now.
They will do his bidding.
Be the governor there? Do they have governors too, or is that racist? I can't remember.
They have Board of Governors, apparently. I just read. Board of Governors meeting, 1 o'clock today.
Oh, is that what? But that's what. No, that's to overcome the racist term, right? Governor.
NBA prefers you call them governors of the teams now, yes.
So does the NHL with the Board of Governors?
I guess so. I don't know.
Well, because I think on this one, though, you could be a governor but not be an owner.
Well, you can in the NBA, too.
That's what I'm saying. So it's two different things.
Oh, okay. I get your point. The second person who did not purchase the ball
or
club
whoever is designated
can be designated.
This would be the putt
right.
club, though. They don't play with the ball.
Nice.
I know you didn't know Josh Doan, but I thought you knew that NHL doesn't play with the ball.
It's a frozen ball with edges. Can a ball have edges?
It's like us in the winter.
Easy. Brian, I'm in. I even have one of my daughters already saying she'll be my hockey buddy.
Oh, she's just doing that to get in good over the other siblings with your inheritance.
It would be interesting to find out if that daughter is, 5 or 35. Is Brian 30 or 80? David says Vegas did a great job supporting the Golden Knights, but they had a winner from the get-go. I hope we do. Question now that we have supported the preseason NHL games that come to town. I really have no idea. Not that means anything.
And Vegas is something to draw from, but at the same time, that was their first big league team.
Yes, they didn't have the NFL yet.
And they were starving.
Yep.
We've had big league for a good long while now. And let's face it, UNLV football, they had a nice season last year, but for a long time, they haven't been very good. And so they didn't get a lot of support.
Well, they haven't had anything big time since college basketball was big time there 30 years ago. So to your point, they were thirsty, parched in the desert. And hockey showed up to quench that thirst.
Yeah.
And they fully embraced it.
I mean, they got big time events over the sporting world, but not one of their own. And so here we've got this situation going on where they come in and the community just took off. And they were good right from the start.
So we'll see here. I don't know what Arizona/Utah is going to be next season as far as how competitive they're going to be. I think they'll be better, if no other reason that the stability of it will lead to just more clearer minds and not have to think about the stuff that these young fellows and their families and the employees and everything, because it's cool that Smith wants to buy it, is going to buy it and all, and look at me, we've got a hockey team here. But there's going to be a lot of lives that are uprooted in the process. But I don't think they really care about that.
The price you pay.
Yeah.
And literally you pay it. No, I'm not paying it. You pay it.
So,
but to your point, it's just been, as the world turns down there, 7 owners in 28 years now. And there's never a plan. And every 4 years, here comes somebody else, including for 4 years, the league was running the club. And so it's just been instability, stacked on instability, which has led to them missing the playoffs 11 of the last 12 years.
Right.
And maybe all that now can be in the rearview mirror.
I think it can.
And because they've been bad, they have had multiple, I think, the 8 first-round picks now in the last 5 years. And so as those guys mature, they should have a core of good young players. And they've got multiple draft picks coming up, too, in the next 3 years.
Yeah. And just the stability of it all. If nothing else, that'll make it better, I believe. It's common sense.
Scotty, of course I'll be part of the package when the Blues are in town. Why does anyone think he'll run this different than he runs the Jazz? We'll be bottom dwellers. Ryan Smith fans are delusional. Beaten down from the very start, Scotty. No hope.
Is there such a thing as a Ryan Smith fan? Are you a fan of the Jazz or are you a fan of Ryan Smith?
I think you're a fan of the Jazz.
Yeah. I don't know that he'll approach it that way. So many unknowns here that will be discovered over time. But obviously that's what they decided with the Jazz. And you can say the team's not winning. That's a big old obvious. But is the plan winning? When you look at what he's done since he's taken ownership of the team, is the plan winning? Because the plan, once you undertook it, will prevent you from winning in the moment, in the now. It's not going to happen. That's obvious. But you have to ask yourself, is the plan winning? Because that's the bigger picture leading towards the team winning. If the plan isn't winning, well, then it's an absolute disaster. So, you can debate amongst yourselves, and everyone has their opinion. Is the plan winning? That's what you have to look at, and we'll have more information. It's winning right now, I believe. It's winning at a very small and low level, and if you're going to go big game hunting, and that's a phrase that will stick with me that Ainge chose to use, and I'm glad he did, put it out there, tell us what you're thinking. That was great. By and large, that press conference the other day was very good by him. And so then when we get to August, when that's traditionally the quiet month of the league, then we'll be able to evaluate at that point, with more evaluation to come, obviously. This team is complete and total in the evaluation mode. We can decide for ourselves, is this plan winning as we go forward? Here, it'll be a different level. They're in a different plane than the Jazz. This Coyotes team, whatever it's called here, has not come close to maxing out. They felt, the leaders, that the Jazz obviously had maxed out and wanted to go in a different direction. And I don't know of enough hockey players that basically hold owners hostage. The way the things are set up. Mitchell, essentially, although he did it low-key, so he wasn't out there, Carmelo Anthony, making a spectacle of it, he essentially held him hostage. And he's doing the same thing to Cleveland now. But that's the system. He's got the goods, and so he can do that. Another player who, Royce O'Neal is not going to hold anybody hostage. He's a nice player.
Yeah, but you got to be better.
Right. And good for him, for where he came from and where he is now. It's a sensational story. I respect the man greatly.
Mitchell didn't negotiate the CBA. This is where it works. He knows what year he hits free agency.
Right.
He wants to go home and play. If there were a great player from Utah who was dying to come home and play, the fan base here would be thrilled waiting for that to happen. And they wouldn't be worried about that player leaving.
Just
give
it a few
NBA
years
city.
because there's going to be plenty of them, and they're coming through Provo, Utah.
See?
Yes.
Could be the best thing that ever happened.
This is the place where we're going to be the place. This is the place.
Yawk's not reacting to that at all.
No,
That
he
surprises
smiled.
me a little bit.
One of his friends texted him. So he's got to look. He's of
read?
the younger generation, and the phone is the most primary thing in your life. And you look at it within seconds at all times.
That wasn't on the air, was it, Yawk?
What did he say?
He said he's taking care of your social media.
My social media or our social media?
He said your. It could be singular or
your
plural.
is one of those trick words.
It was plural.
I thought it was. See, because he thought it was a slam towards me. That's why he laughed. Because he thought you were one-upping me, and that was his way of, wow, I can mock him. That's why he did what he did. But again, he was wrong. I knew darn well it was a plural your. He didn't. Instincts, that's not his game. It's more sit back, analytical, logic it out, and come to a conclusion that all of us can be happy.
You're never happy, so it's never all of us happy.
Well, all of us in your life. I'm not part of your life.
You are one of the biggest parts of my life.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
My wife refrains from saying, "You're spending more time today with PK than with me," but I know she's thinking it.
Well, then you go home and make it up to her tonight, big guy.
It just gets worse and worse.
You show her. Literally and figuratively.
Stop. Just do everybody a favor and stop. People throwing up on the steering wheel going to work today, and they're not happy
Show her
about
what
it.
she means to you.
Shut your face.
Just go to town.
Shut your face.
Come on, big dog. You're her original big dog.
Glenn Robinson, shout out. Antoine Carr, shout out.
DJ, David James Snigeldorf III. So here's your chance. Are you going to be part of the package, man? Is this town going to go nuts? I mean, Ryan Smith puts it out there. He's jacked. Obviously, he's spending millions to get it to have it happen. Maybe billions, I guess, and whatever the final cost would be, because there's so much more to come, as like he just said. Well, I didn't put the entire quote, but that quote includes, we got to get practice sites, we got blah, 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 blah. So it's a huge financial undertaking. So obviously the guy's jacked. I mean, he's got a lot of money, fine, but that doesn't mean you just spend a lot of money haphazardly.
It's a basketball town. There's a gym in every church.
Well, now we'll put an ice rink in every church.
Now,
expand the building a bit.
I haven't been told it's not a hockey town since yesterday. And the rinks that are here, and they built a bunch of new ones for the arena, but immediately if you talk to the people who are trying to book ice time, it's impossible. The demand, you got to go.
It's like getting a tea time in Los Angeles.
5 in the morning, 11 at night.
Ice time is at a premium. I'm afraid.
Right.
It's
every time I try to get on the ice, I've been rebuffed.
So you're not trying to get on the ice.
No, I go to
where do you go?
The Gallivan Center, and I bring my stick.
You at the Gallivan Center?
Yeah. I'm taking slap shots left and right.
Date night getting wrecked by PK at the Gallivan Center.
Because they're other deacon people.
And then I get my hot cocoa when they come in the Zamboni. I already told somebody high up on the Jazz I want to be the Zamboni driver.
How'd that go over?
I got a ha-ha.
Yeah.
But I was serious. I'm done with this radio stuff. It's all about the Zamboni for me.
John Stockton drove the Zamboni when they had minor league hockey in the Delta Center.
Right.
In the early 90s.
And I got the vaccine.
Nice.
He didn't. And I'm not suing the state of Washington. He is.
More things that separate you from John Stockton.
And I like to take a subservient role to you. You're our letter carrier.
You're just making
I'm just a
up.
facilitator.
DJ and the facilitator. More to come. Stay with us right here on 97.5 The Zone. A lot of reaction to Kevin Young and his press conference his debut with the Cougars. What did you think? We will get to that next. Stay with us.
The NHL is coming to Salt Lake City.
It's about time.
I have been waiting decades.
This is huge news.
As Utah prepares to welcome the National Hockey League.
This city has long deserved a second pro squad.
The Zone will have all the coverage from every angle as we'll be with the new team every step of the way. From every moment of the offseason right up to when the puck hits the ice in the fall.
A new era in Utah sports.
Your home for the best coverage of the NHL in Utah is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What do you think about Kevin getting that job at BYU? KYU. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. No, I'm excited for him and his family, man. Somebody that I've developed a great relationship with, somebody that, you know, I wish I could have played college basketball for, or have somebody like that recruit me. You know, so I'm gonna be keeping close eyes on that program and everything that he's doing. I know they're in really good hands. I know he got a good deal. So, you know, it's good to see, you know, him and his family taken care of.
The band of the day today, 30 Seconds to Mars, brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. That is Sunstar Devin Booker right there. It's no longer Brigham Young University. It's now Kevin Young University, KYU. That's his line. And he knows he got taken care of. 7 years, $30 million. But also an NBA guy saying, I wish I'd been recruited by someone like that and been developed in college like that. That can't hurt. It's a good quote from an NBA All-Star. Put that in the recruiting stuff you're sending out.
Devin Booker, yeah. The player who was passed by in favor of Trey Lyles by the Jazz.
Ouch.
And then Booker went the very next pick to Phoenix.
Oops. Did Kevin Young get you fired up for BYU basketball? Had the press conference on the Marriott Center floor, did a lot of interviews, shook a lot of hands, smiled at a lot of people. Did he get you fired up? Matt, maybe if I knew who Kevin Young was or if I liked BYU basketball. At least his name is Young, so there's that.
Well, then you don't care, so what difference does it make to you? So get out of here.
David, no clue. I guess time will tell. Got to clean up the mess Pope left.
The mess? It's a little strong.
Got to see what's left after the transfer portal and everything shakes out. They can arm wrestle over players.
Well, yeah, and some of the guys were there, Dallin Hall, and there's pictures on the internet of him talking with Ainge and all. Well, show me the money, man. Hey, this guy can go other places and get substantially more money. You expect him to stay here?
Yes.
No.
Oh, darn.
So this is where we're at. This isn't a win one for your college and this and that and represent your church. How about fatten your wallet?
Show me the money.
That's extremely important. So what are they going to be able to offer him? If he can get substantially more money elsewhere. I mean, Kevin Young can be the greatest ever, but there's plenty of other places where you can develop and go to the NBA.
Did Kevin Young get you fired up for BYU basketball? Kevin Wood says it's too early to tell. He is reserving judgment. So is Jared. Yeah. Tournament wins will fire me up. Actions speak louder than words.
I don't think that that's necessarily true. You're talking about being fired up in the moment. You've got Devin Booker just giving him an awesome recommendation. This doesn't happen by current NBA players. You know, Dave Rose could have tapped into Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler as teammates when he was at Houston, but those guys, you know, were they still playing at that time?
No, not by the time Dave. Well, when Dave was an assistant coach, he could have tightened. But as a head coach, they were done. They were done by the time.
So here he's got current players. They've never had anybody with this level of NBA qualifications and coaching qualifications. And it screams that he was interviewing for multiple head coaching jobs in the NBA. And they're not just going to bring in somebody. And especially being a white dude, he doesn't have to meet any. I don't know if the NBA has Rooney rules or whatever, but you're not going to do that. He doesn't apply.
as far as that goes. So you have to actually think that, wow, there's something to him that I need to speak to him. And, I mean, this has Ainge written all over it.
It really does.
Yeah, and he was there.
He's interviewed him twice for a decade.
Yeah.
He was there walking around, shaking hands, smiling at people, chatting people up. Yeah, he's all in.
Right. I wanted to give him a hug, but he backed off.
Understandably.
No, I didn't say anything to him. But yeah, he's the veto of the BYU basketball program, and he has been for a number of years.
It's just easier to see it right now. It's more obvious.
Right. It was more somewhat behind the scenes, but I was aware of it. I covered them for the Watchdog. And so that's the thing about it. So you've got that going on. And the point I'm making is that he gives Young an outstanding recommendation. And I think that means something. Because Ainge has a vested interest in this program. There's just no doubt about it. Even when he was on the other side of the country, he did.
He was showing up in a lot of games, showing up at conference tournaments. I don't know how much you knew because you were usually there. You probably knew. You probably bumped into him. But I remember watching a game on BYU TV once, and they're sitting up high up in a relatively empty portion of the arena, and they had a shot of there's Ainge, there's Homo, there's Brian Santiago, there's Chad Lewis, and they're all just sitting away from each other.
I didn't bump into him. I talked to him 100 times over. To where if we should run across each other, he recognizes my ugly mug and will say hello all the time. So he was there. I was there. No, I'd bump. He would be in the press room, sit down and chat with him. And so he gives this guy a high recommendation. I think he was his number one choice. Young was Ainge's number one choice. And they knew. And the thing about it is, I like what Tom said, that Tom has a list. You have to be prepared for everything at all times. And it's a little bit easier for BYU because particularly in the higher profile sports, it seems like they're going to go with someone who goes to church in the Mormon faith, and that's certainly their right. And so it's not like it's a widespread pool of candidates. It's limited. And I think Young was at the top. And as I came in and said Tuesday that Tom, and the university president were in Phoenix on Monday. Came in and said that. And I didn't tweet it, so Woj gets the credit, and that's fine. That they went down there to close the deal. And they had their eye on this man, and they went and got the deal done. This is good. Does it mean he's going to lead them to prosperity? That remains to be seen, but we're not really talking about that right now. We're talking about the level of excitement. And if I'm a BYU fan, I have a level of excitement about this basketball program that I haven't had since Jimmer.
Jason says, I think Ryan's money would be better used on players. He wouldn't get into specifics, but Kevin Young seemed pretty satisfied with what he heard about NIL.
Well, you have to have the coach, though.
Yep. You got to have it all.
But the coach has to be in place. You're not going to go someplace that you absolutely hate for the money because you can get the money elsewhere. It's not like it's take it or leave it and that's all you got. All these players that are going in the portal, they've got multiple options because they're good players. So there's got to be something that draws you back to BYU, right? And Young has to be a factor. His offensive style of play, his connections, his knowledge, all those things. Every kid who's ever shot a basketball with any degree of love for the game is going to want to play in the NBA. Nobody turns down the NBA. Unless you're a foreign guy and you're making big money in your home country or whatever. So this guy, Young, he can help get that done. There's no doubt about it. And there will be money there. I think I think BYU knows that. They're going to do that. It may not be the highest paid, but there will be money available.
Garrett says it's BYU basketball. So, no, I'm not fired up. But it is awesome. They got someone so highly thought of.
Yeah, that's kind of a contradiction there. Why wouldn't you be fired up?
No, if he's not a BYU fan, I clicked on it to see if he's a Ute or an Aggie. Oh. It says he lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and this is the part you're going to like, and he works at Tonto Verde Golf Club and Community, a premier activity-rich golf community in the Northeast Valley.
What a lottie freaking dog.
2 stunning championship golf courses.
Not 1, but 2.
The Peaks and the Ranch. You have to go check them out next time you're golfing down there.
That'll be soon.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next, hockey. The countdown is on. The plans have been made. How fired up are you? We will get to that next. Stay with us.
Yes. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. It's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith talking about the NHL coming to Salt Lake City. Quote, I have incredible faith in the people of Utah. We show up, it'll be packed. Are you going to be part of the package? Sarge, I'll be there.
Sarge?
Sarge. At Sarge Ute.
I told you I used to listen to Phoenix Talk, Sports Talk Radio from midnight to 10, or the other way around. From
you listen to it backwards.
10 to midnight.
Yeah.
And he had these slew of callers, and they were regulars. I mean, almost like every night, at least multiple times a week. And one of them was Sarge from West Phoenix.
You think this is him?
And he would complain that he doesn't have the money to go. I ain't got the bucks, John. I used to hear that phrase. I ain't got the bucks, John. I'll just go down to the park and watch him play, John. I hear you, Sarge. And he would call him, and they had Graham. And Graham was a grandma, and she hated boxing, thought it was barbaric. I just don't understand it, John. Well, Graham, it was like this. It would be like 3-4 times a week because I worked at Parks and Rec in North Phoenix, and then I'd have to drive to Tempe. So it was like a 45-minute drive. I'd get off at 10 o'clock every night, and I'd listen to it with a friend of mine. You know my friend. And we'd listen in his yellow Nova.
Oh, wow.
The yellow Nova with black stripes that I saw on the episode of Chips when we were in the San Fernando Valley. And I actually saw the one episode of Chips. We were turning left on a stoplight, and there was Ponch and whatever the other guy's
Ponch
name
and John.
Was. Oh, I couldn't remember. And they were both, I could have touched them. And then we looked around, there was all these cameras. And we would listen. And then he had another guy named Kenny. Oh, Kenny, he was very smart. And then he called another dude Contro because he stirred controversy every time he called.
Contro? That was his nickname?
Yeah.
Hey, Contro.
I mean, these guys are... And
they're regular, like they're like a cast.
Yeah,
characters.
I remember them. Yeah. So when you said Sarge, that's what I thought.
Cal says, I work nights, and I'm trying to figure out a way to change my work schedule so I can get season tickets. I'm all in.
Nice. Very nice.
Jake says, my dad and I have already decided we're buying season tickets, and we're not even hockey fans. Laughing, crying emoji.
How many hockey fans that are not currently hockey fans will be converted into hockey fans?
How much are they going to win?
A bunch will.
Well, I mean, they're probably not going to win right at the start.
I don't think it really matters on the winning.
He doesn't think it matters.
I'm surprised by that.
You think winning is irrelevant to the
winning
issue.
Helps, but I believe the fact that we've been so starved for professional sports here in Salt Lake, people embrace it.
Famished. We've gone 40 days and 40 nights.
The famine.
There's 2 people I've listened to use the word famished, and you're one of them. My mother used to say famished all the time. She was never hungry. She was famished.
Right.
So dramatic.
Well, she was an English lit teacher.
Yes, she was.
She was?
She was.
How about that? I guessed.
Not English lit, but English
Let's
teacher.
hear it for Nyla.
Yeah, you finally looked up her name a 48th time and remembered it.
No, because you wouldn't tell me. Like, I couldn't care less, but the fact you wouldn't tell me bugged me.
Good.
So I went in. You can type in legacy. I typed your father's name, and there it was.
There it is. Yep. Good for you. It's all out there. Go find it.
Everything's good. Yay. Yeah. The woman was famished.
Famished?
Right.
I'm famished.
It was famished for big league sports here.
Ben says, I will be there, just like I am for the Jazz, the Bees, and Real Salt Lake.
But not the Royals or the Warriors?
Well, what I noticed was not the Cougars and not the Utes.
Because he's a pro sports person.
Yeah. And I remember you saying the Valley really changed, referring to the Valley of the Sun, a.k.a. Phoenix. When all the pro teams showed up, the college sports were lessened. And college sports have been so important here. They have been such a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to believe that they could be lessened. And yet, listening to you talk and then looking at what happened in Arizona from a distance, looks like they have been lessened.
There's no question they have.
They've literally...
Particularly college football, yeah.
Yeah, well, in both the basketball arena and the football stadium at Arizona State, they shrunk the size of them. You know, they remodeled the football stadium, made it smaller.
I don't think basketball was...
They put in some fake... What did they do with some fake walls or something?
Wall, but they've taken it out. But I don't think basketball was ever...
It was never big enough to be diminished.
Well, I can't speak to anything that I know, and when I moved there, the Suns were already there. They had been there for many years. Yeah. So that was a different situation.
And also, we're not getting the NFL here. And they got it there, and the NFL's the big dog. And how much of the damage that was done to college sports there, especially college football, was done by the NFL. Uh-huh. So to a certain degree, maybe it's just going to turn out to be apples and oranges here. We will get our football fix from college football.
Right, because, football season will start in August with training camp. Well, if you listen to Phoenix Talk Radio, which I do a fair amount, they don't talk about the colleges. It's all about the Cardinals. And that's the seasons overlap. Here...
It'll be a different deal. The seasons won't overlap in the same way.
Not for basically 3 months. All of August, they talk about and obsess. September, and then a good part of October. And then at that point, as you roll into November, your season has already taken shape. You either stink, or you're striving for a bowl game, or you're really good. And if you're really good, people will be into it. If the Devils should roll out a 10-win season, people will be into it, especially now when they have a local guy who keeps pumping that up. But, yeah, there's no question it took a major hit here. And I don't buy the theory that, and I know Kevin Graham put it out there, and he used to work in the Phoenix market, nobody is from there. I think that's an old take. I think that there's so many folks who moved there and then had families. Like both of my sisters, they still speak with a Jersey accent.
Do the kids tend to stay there? And I don't know if you have any science on this. You may just have a few, handful of personal experiences. But do the kids who grow up there tend to stay there?
There's so many people that the answer is to quote Kirk Craigthorpe, yes and no.
Nice. I enjoyed that.
Like, for instance, my sister's kids, they were born there, and they still live there.
They stayed there.
Yeah. Back east, they call it going to the shore. They don't call it going to the beach. And my wife one time asked my niece, so you guys going to the shore? She looked at her like, what? Because she was thinking Jersey, but they don't call it that. They're Phoenix people. So I think there's enough Phoenix people here. And I wonder here, how will it be? Because we are having a lot of folks move here, and we see it with the Laker games. Right? There's so many of the Californians and all that stuff. How will it be here? Will they adopt it as their own? Because the thought being, well, in Phoenix, they come from Michigan and they bring their Michigan allegiances. Mm-hmm. Well, we have that here too. I wonder what the ratio is. There's huge numbers, but there's also far more people. So what's the ratio of people who live here that are from here versus live here and came from other places.
That number may exist out there somewhere. I don't know what it is.
I wonder how close that is to what they have down in the Phoenix area.
I would think, and it may be an old take, I would think the number in Phoenix, way more transplants. Way more locals.
But there's way more locals there, too.
And then there's more of everybody. You're right. I mean, they've got way more population.
I think that's an outdated philosophy. And when does it become you're from someplace else, but this is your home? And this is, like, for me, I wasn't born there, but I consider that my home. Because I go to New Jersey once every 4 or 5 years. I go to Phoenix once every 4 or 5 months. Actually, less than that, particularly from December to April.
Yeah, it's way closer. It's easier to get to.
Yeah.
And your immediate family is
right.
Your more immediate family, your siblings are in Arizona.
Right. And my parents were, and the same thing with my wife. Both of our sets of parents are gone now because, as Dave Rose told me last night, you're old.
You're old.
I am, no doubt about it. So I wonder that same thing here. So how many will latch on? But it's hockey, and it's not like it's like, for instance, the L.A. It's not the Dodgers. It's not the Lakers, where it's that lifelong connection.
And you pick the two teams in L.A. that are most likely to have that. Those are the two best branded teams of all the.
Right,
they basically have two of everything there. And those are the two that are branded the best.
And I appreciate Ryan Smith's enthusiasm, and this is just me naturally, my personality, I have a little bit of skepticism because I don't think that people are celebrating it right now the way it should be. And there's no need to wait. I saw somebody from the news put on a thing on social media. Well, there's no information. It's hush-hush. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
They're coming. It's going to happen. It's happening as we speak. It will. They're going to have a big party here very soon. And how much of it is going to be latched on, and people are really, really going to embrace it? Will it be packed each and every like it is across the street at Delta Center? And when they build a new hockey arena, will we be forced not to say the? Will the employees be told, if you say the, and I can't believe Will Hardy gets away with it, the flagrant violation. He says it all the time, the Delta Center. Get in line,
because
buddy.
He knows what's up.
He didn't know what's down. And those folks can't say it. Jake Scott cannot say the Delta Center.
He could.
No, he cannot.
Chooses not to.
Only you do. Because you're just a flagrant rule violator. It's why Nyla pulled her hair out and she turned gray far more earlier than she should have because of you. The oldest of the sibling, you set the bad example for the other two.
Yeah,
that's why they've had all their trouble in their lives.
I'm going to go over to the Delta Center, okay?
Well, I hope you get hit by tracks.
Thank you.
That escalated quickly.
Well, if he's not going to be, he's just going to be a flagrant rule violator. What time does the game start? Eastern time.
9:30.
Okay. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. And I have to believe that Ryan Smith knows what he's talking about more than I do. Because I don't think, let's just have a hockey team. I think there's got to be some type of research and all that stuff.
He owns a company called Qualtrics. I think he has.
So it'd be easy. No, he doesn't. Actually, you're wrong.
He sold a lot of it. He still has shares in it.
He runs a company.
He does run the company. And he has access to the ability to do a little research and figure this out.
And so you have to think that they have that extensive research of what the support will be. So there's a level of trust I have in him when he makes those statements.
There's the next chapter, assuming the baseball expansion happens. And probably not right away, but let's say by 2030.
Does that cut into it? How much?
Right now, I think they have to sell about 750,000 Jazz tickets. 18,306 times 41 games. I think that gets around 750,000.
Is that what it is? 18,306? You know the exact number?
Sell it out all the time. It's on the little stat sheet.
I never look at the little stat sheet.
18,306.
I just watch the games. Stats are... I don't give a bleep what the stats are.
Yeah, but when you're sitting waiting for Will's press conference to start, They hand you the piece of paper.
And
there it is.
You don't have to take it. When I walk down Vegas, I don't hear for a good time. I don't take all those little pamphlets they hand out.
Well, stop walking down the street in Vegas. What kind of a neighborhood are you hanging out in? The Strip?
Well, it's Vegas. It's what they do. But
so
they got their
Jazz tickets,
and they're meeting that.
And in the short run, yeah, and they are. In the short run, there'll probably be about 500,000 hockey tickets because they're going to have about 2/3 of the capacity of the arena, roughly. Now that will get upgraded, and probably have to move about 750,000 of those eventually. And then baseball shows up, and are they planning on drawing 1.5 million or 2 million or 2.5 million? I mean, you look around at different Major League Baseball clubs. Those are the ballpark that most of the attendance is in. Ballpark humor, thank you. Are there going to be enough people here with enough passion for sports to pay the prices and fill those seats? And part of filling the seats is what's it going to cost to go to a hockey game? I was listening to one of the guys from, I don't remember which guy they had on from Arizona on one of Scotty and Hans' shows, and he was saying that the average ticket price in the NHL was around $160 or $170 a game.
They're the hockey show, aren't they?
They are evolving into that. Yeah, they've done a lot of. They've embraced it. Brevin. Oh, it's the opposite of Ron Boone.
What?
Well, Booner. Oh, hell no. You got that drop? That's a great Booner drop. Brevin. Hell yeah. I'll be there 10 times what I am for the Jazz.
Okay, if you're not there for
0.
Hell no.
There it is, yeah.
So if you're not there for
If you're there for 0 Jazz games, 10 times 0 is 0. But assuming you go to a game once in a while, now 10 games a year.
Which, as a kid, I never understood that, guys. If I got a number here and then I have 0, why is the equation equal to 0? Why wouldn't it be 10? I never understood that. And I still, to this day, do not understand it.
We'll work on your math skills during the break.
I don't have any math skills.
Coming up next, Jay Drew, BYU beat writer for the Deseret News, on the new head coach, Kevin Young. That's at 8:30. Mike Weir, former Masters champ, at 9 o'clock. Stay tuned for that. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
I feel bad for Coyotes fans. I feel bad for the players and staff. They were let down by bad management. The good news is there's going to be new management in town. You know that restaurant you go to that's really bad? You're like, I'm never going back there again. And you drive by there like a year later and you see that sign says new management. The Coyotes are getting new management. And everything's going to be different for these players, the coaches, the staff. The general manager is going to have money to spend. The players are going to be playing in a big sold-out arena here at Delta Center. But it's happening, and new management is definitely in town. It's Ryan Smith, and he's going to take over this franchise, and he's going to make it special.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Golfers, you don't want to miss. You want to golf. The multi-vendor demo and fitting event is this Saturday from 10 to 4 at Mulligan's Golf and Games. This big one-day event is your chance to demo the hottest new products, meet with golf manufacturer reps, and get custom fit for your new clubs. And all purchases are all backed by the 90-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go to theworldwidegolf.com and book your custom fitting today. Remember, it's all this Saturday at Mulligan's Golf and Games. Get there. DJ PK and Jay Drew joins us once again. BYU beat writer for the Deseret News. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Jay, you didn't seem very eager to pop up and be on TV last night. I couldn't help it. Your former tag team partner, Patrick Kinahan, couldn't wait right there. You seem to be wired differently, Jay. I thought you'd rush to the spotlight a little more.
No, that's not me. I wasn't really thrilled with the whole setup, so it took me a little bit of warming up to do, I guess. I mean, who holds a press conference at 7 p.m.? I guess that was my biggest problem with the whole thing. But I warmed up to it, and it turned out fine.
I thought Kevin Young was a smashing success for press conferences as far as those go. They talk about winning the press conference. I think that BYU won before they even had the press conference. The amount of enthusiasm has been incredible.
And I think people saw that, maybe they didn't see earlier that Mark Pope was in it for himself, and his sights were always set on Kentucky, and he was going to use BYU to be able to get what he wanted, and he did. So good for him. So they won it, but now it's a matter of getting players. Start out with the guys in the portal. What do you think the chances of them are returning to BYU?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Obviously guys got other things going on, but who was there last night? For BYU, it was a good sign. I think that Dallin Hall was there. Shows that he's at least willing to listen and see. So my guess is chances of him coming back are pretty good. It just seems like one of those BYU type of kids, a local kid. And so I would say, good chance for him. Ali Khalifa in the portal, he's narrowed it down to Louisville, Kentucky, and BYU. And the fact that he had a no contact kind of clause or whatever in his portal listing, it's probably a pretty good sign for BYU. But it just seems to me, I think he'll end up at Kentucky. I really do. I think he's more of a Mark Pope guy and likes that offense that Mark Pope ran with him kind of as a point center, as it were. And then, the Richie Saunders, I didn't see Richie there last night. I don't know if anybody else did. I was kind of perusing Twitter to see, but I'm kind of 50-50 on Richie. I just can't get a good read on it, what he's going to do. So I think for BYU, obviously best case scenario is all three of those guys come back, but I think a more realistic kind of is probably two of them, and if they don't get any of them, that's not a good sign, obviously.
Your point about the 7 o'clock press conference, I assumed that tied into that they were working around the coach's schedule because Kevin Young is coaching in two places and he's still with the Suns, and so I assumed he had responsibilities earlier in the day in Arizona and then had to get up there. I don't know that. We had a limited amount of time to interview him, and I didn't want to spend time on that, but that's what I figured that it was. And I think that goes to the bigger point about putting a roster together for this year. Everything happens so quickly. I'm sure he'll work hard at it, but I'm also sure he's just not going to have as many hours in the day to work at it as everybody else. And he's going to be a first-time head coach, and he's back in the college ranks after years away. As much as there's big-picture enthusiasm for him, it seems to me like there's reason to tamp the enthusiasm down in the short run. Keep it for the long run, that's fine. But in the short run, it seems like it could be a bumpy ride. And maybe he's got the magic and it won't be. But it seems like there's some things stacked up against him here early on. Do you buy all that?
Oh, for sure. I think that's got to be the biggest concern is this guy isn't going to be able to hit the ground running. Puts BYU fans in kind of a quandary. Do you cheer for the Suns to go far in the NBA playoffs and kind of build his resume, or do you cheer for him for an early exit so he can put all of his time into BYU? I think it's paramount that he just gets some assistance as quickly as possible. Even at least one this week would seem to be helpful. I noticed Nick Robinson was there last night. He's obviously probably still doing a lot of kind of the work for BYU. Director of basketball operations Nate Austin was there, but yeah, that's. I think now the kind of the euphoria of making this hire that everybody seems to applaud is the next couple of days is going to wear off a little bit, and harsh reality is going to set in, and that is there's a lot of work to do, especially in this day and age of the transfer portal, where not only do you have to go out and try to find new recruits, you got to recruit your own roster. So, it's going to keep him busy. There's no question about that.
Can you speak to the relationship that Mark Pope had with some movers and shakers in terms of coaches, AAU-type guys? Because it seems like it wasn't very good. I heard a lot of negative stuff there, and we saw a couple of guys that maybe he could have had that didn't choose to go there. I don't know if they'll change their minds or whatever down the line. It remains to be seen. But how much do you know about that in terms of Young being able to establish good relationships with these guys?
Yeah, I don't have any specifics, and I don't want to kind of throw out kind of like rumors and innuendo, but I have heard it more than once. When there's smoke, there's fire. I guess you could say that a lot of these AAU coaches, the traveling all-star coaches in Utah, and even some outside the state, weren't really fond of Mark Pope and maybe the way that he recruited, or the way that he might have made promises to players that were really difficult to deliver on. So yeah, I think there's something to that. Will Kevin Young have better chances with these guys? Will he, get in more closely with them? His brother, I think his name is Justin Young, is one of those. He runs this hoop scene website. He's apparently a guru. Jake could probably speak more to this than me, but with high school basketball recruiting and being in touch with all these coaches and summer league coaches and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that in this whole switch is probably going to be a net positive for BYU in that regard.
His resume is so distinguished, I guess. I don't know if that's exactly the right word. And Danny Ainge seems to have been impressed with him a decade ago. There's a certain amount of this. It seems like this was just destined to happen, with a possible exception of he was so well thought of in the NBA. Why would he want to go to the college game? And I guess cynically you could say, well, 7 years and $30 million makes you want to do it. And it is a chance to be a head coach. So I guess there's that. Were you surprised by this at some level?
I was surprised. I guess, right after, it was kind of the news broke that Mark Pope was headed for Kentucky, I hurried and put out here are the guys BYU should look at or Tom Hommel should call. And I didn't list Kevin Young. I'm kind of embarrassed by that now. But my thinking was that 5 years ago, I thought they would really target Alex Jensen. And basically I was told that, hey, that would be crazy. Why would a guy on the fast track to an NBA head coaching job or would, go to a mid-major? But money talks, as you guys know. And that's probably what the difference is this year or this time around, this cycle. But Patrick had a great question. I started it off with a really great question. I thought it was the question of the night, and about was it hard for him to give up kind of his NBA dreams to come to BYU, and his response was even more surprising than the fact that PK actually asked a good question.
Oh, that's a shot.
Just kidding, PK.
All I've done for this kidding. Guy. All I've done for him.
Oh yeah. Where was I? Kevin Young basically said, hey, it's never really been a dream of mine to be an NBA head coach. That was somewhat shocking.
Yeah, I agree.
Thought.
Yeah.
Pretty surprising.
Surprising, yeah, no doubt.
And almost like, and then I asked him later, kind of like, when did this thought cross your mind of ever being the coach at BYU? Because let's face it, he's not a BYU guy. He didn't grow up a BYU fan. His family, I think his wife went to BYU, but he doesn't really have that, doesn't seem to have that affinity yet for the place like a Kalani Sitake had,
right?
Who was sitting right there in the front row watching everything, and probably wondering about where that money came from for that kind of a contract.
Oh, I bet he can guess. I bet he can guess where it came from.
Yeah, I know. We all know where it came from, but so yeah, that was but when Kevin Young said that, he's known Danny Ainge for 10 years and kind of that's when in the last 5 years ago when they talked to him about the job, that's kind of where the thought really became kind of took seed and took ground that, one day he could do it, and now here we are.
How much do you think Ainge and Ryan Smith played into it?
Oh, a huge part. I mean, it has their fingerprints all over it. There's, and I don't think they're denying it. Although, Danny Ainge's reaction at the Jazz, locker room clean-out press conference was kind of disingenuous a little bit. He acted surprised, but no, I think they probably both acknowledged that, this was their guy, and this is the guy that they wanted and they were able to get.
There's no reason to back away from it. If you're the AD, if you're Tom Homo or you're Brian Santiago, why wouldn't you call Danny Ainge? I mean, honestly, it'd be malpractice. They wouldn't be doing their job right if they didn't call their most distinguished alumni, who is completely wired into the world of basketball, to find out what he thought. That would be a horrific decision if they didn't do that. So they did it.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guy that
sure.
Ainge has been impressed with for at least a decade, maybe more. But we know he interviewed the G League job because Danny offered that up when, back in Boston. So, I mean, you can see how this works out. This is,
for sure. Yeah, I don't blame him. And I mean, you got to, in this day and age, especially with NIL and everything else, you got to lean on your boosters. You got to. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get ahead is you got to use every resource you got. And obviously, Danny Ainge, with his resume and what he's done and his name throughout the country and in basketball, you absolutely have to. Like you said, DJ, it'd be malpractice if you didn't. And I think BYU fans expect that. I think Tom Homo is not really a basketball guy. Brian Santiago is. And I think, if you go to any Jazz games and you look, more often than not, Brian Santiago's right down there sitting right next to Danny Ainge and Ryan Smith.
Yep.
And so, obviously you can see how this all came together.
They talk big dreams. I remember when Dave Rose was hired, I was working for the newspaper at the time, so went down there, covered it all and all that stuff. And, we're going to get to Final Four. That's the goal, blah, 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 blah. And so everybody talks about that, right? And I think that, those are all great dreams and goals to achieve. But I think it's clear to me if BYU wants to achieve at that level, they're going to need to have a significant portion of their roster not be Latter-day Saints and particularly not be returned missionaries, right? Because they need that type of talent. And going away for 2 years, I don't think it helps your game. But anyway, the point I'm making is that Pope started to do that, started bringing a fair amount of LDS guys, or non-LDS guys, I should say. And I heard from someone high up, when are we going to get back to recruiting missionaries and Mormon kids? And so how do you think Young is going to handle that? Because there's still an old guard who thinks we need to win with our people. And if we can't win with our people, then so be it. And there's a new guard that says, who cares whose people they are? We just want to win. As long as they either keep the standards or don't get caught, that's all that matters. It's a delicate balance there, and I've talked to administrators about this many times over the years, that you got to be careful on your roster construction because you have to bring in guys who are willing to at least say they'll abide by the rules and the regulations and the honor code and all that stuff. And I'm wondering, how do you think that's going to be for Young, as he's not a BYU guy? Steve Cleveland did it, and right off the bat, when I was premier guys got busted for smoking dope, blah, 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 got kicked off the team. And Dave Rose had a couple issues here and there on that. So speak to that for us.
Yeah, I think Kevin Young, I think he's going to kind of take, I don't want to say his marching orders, but I think Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge are going to be a big role in this. And I think they're going to, I don't think they're going to be pushing the return missionaries and the LDS kids and the Utah County kids that Dave Rose, relied on. And granted, some of those Utah County kids were really talented, like a TJ Haas and that, and Tyler and Nick Emery for a little bit of the time. And Eric Mika, that's another one that was a good player there. But yeah, I think Ryan Smith has already shown in a lot of his other kind of things he's done with the Jazz and with different trying to make inclusive things that he's done. I think that's kind of the message that will be sent to Coach Young, and so I think they'll move away from it. And then yesterday was kind of interesting that the Colin Chandler news. If that that kind of was, I don't know, really kind of hurtful for BYU. That was a huge blow, if you ask me. I don't know if you guys talked a lot about it on the radio, but
sure,
him moving on to Kentucky, there's a return missionary and everything that ended up kind of biting BYU because, if he had maybe played right out of high school and had already had his career going, maybe he doesn't follow Mark Pope to Kentucky. So there's pros and cons about the whole, using missionaries that much and return missionaries, and it'll be really interesting to see how he does at Kentucky. That'll be really, really fascinating, especially if he's got mission legs and people expect him to come in and be a contributor right away. I think the rest of the country is going to kind of find out that this isn't a slam dunk using these return missionaries that some people, other coaches, rival coaches think it is. With the maturity and all that, there's a lot of other drawbacks. So yeah, I think BYU is kind of really slowly moving towards being more, kind of a non-LDS flair to their marquee sports, and I really think Kevin Young, with his ties to the NBA and the recruiting world, I think he'll probably even move farther away from that.
Jay, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you again down the road. Enjoy your summer.
Yeah, we'll try. Got this coaching search over with now, so that's kind of a relief for a lot of us in the business. You're not on pins and needles every day worrying about getting scooped. So,
well, kick back, man, and enjoy your time.
Well, we got the NFL draft next week, and then after that, then I'm seriously going to wonder what I'm going to be writing about. So
basketball transfer portal and recruiting. You got that in the mix.
Yeah, that's 24/7 nowadays, so year round. So, okay, guys, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Jay. Jay Drew, BYU beat writer for the Deseret News. Mike Weir, former Masters champ, coming up at 9:00. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Phoenix Suns associate head coach Kevin Young is filing a long-term deal to become the next head coach at BYU. That's a huge hire. Kevin Young is the top assistant in the NBA right now. This is beyond best case scenario for the Cougars. This is a who's who of coaches. This is a real muscle flex from BYU to show that they still have a ton of power. I'm stunned. In all honesty, that's a crazy hire. He interviewed for the Jazz job before Will Hardy got it. He's been interviewing for the Raptors job. You are not getting NBA coaches leaving the NBA when their next job is an NBA head coaching job to go to college. That is crazy. Now, what does he do with the job? Can he recruit? How does he get players, et cetera, et cetera? Those are all very big storylines, but you could not have hit a better grand slam. He might be a better coach than Mark Pope.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Join Hans and Scotty Friday at Spa Trouvé in Highland, located at 5455 West. Yeah. 11,000 North.
110th North.
110th North is what we're going with? That's not what it says.
I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah, I know. Stop in and say hi to Hans and Scotty G. They'll be broadcasting live from noon to 3.
Oh, brother. It is a tongue twister a little bit.
11000.
I just read it as it is every time I've had to do it. Let them figure it out. You're giving them out there because you ever do
11,000 North.
Yeah. If you ever do the MapQuest, they'll go 11,000 E. They won't say the East the way it is pronounced here. And when I first got here, man, it's like, what are you guys talking about?
I did. I had to mail something here when I was applying for a job, and they gave me a number, 2185 South. I'm like, okay, 3600 East. What? You already gave me a number. And my agent was like, that's the way they do things. Just put it down, and it'll get there.
Oh, Scott Boras?
No, not Scott Boras.
He slipped in my agent. Your agent, yeah.
Not anymore.
All right, I know. You fired her. She didn't get you enough money. And you hired Scott Boras, and now look at you. You got a big TV.
Nope. That's not how it happened. You're just making stuff up.
I think it's precisely how it happened.
Nope. Not how it happened.
What's the
paycheck is why I live in Utah.
Yeah. That'd be paychecks, multiple streaming venues of financial wherewithal.
I got a big TV.
Streaming. What was that?
Streaming venues of financial wherewithal. You heard me. What are you looking at the sky for?
You saved the school $600,000?
600,000.
It's an SVFW.
That's called the first quarter for me.
That a kid. Go get him.
There's a reason why you're much better friends with Ryan Smith than I am.
I always have problems with reality.
Much better friends.
I don't run in those circles, man. I'm down here. I'm an upper bowl guy.
Sex sells, PK.
Yeah, that's why they hired me.
Sex sells, PK. So as long as you're talking about Ryan Smith's new project, I don't know how new it is, but back in the headlines project. With the new project, I guess, would be hockey. The back in the headlines would be BYU basketball. He's been a BYU basketball fan for a long time.
Stan Watts days.
He's not that old. Stan Watts to the Elite Eight.
All right.
Expectations for the new coach. And he did say win a national championship. So if you just want to hold him to his words, but I'm with you. That's the kind of thing, you're supposed to say. You say
guys, we're going to be lucky if we squeak in the tournament. I'm getting $4 million, unprecedented. I'm the freaking highest paid employee on the BYU campus.
Yes.
I just hope to break 500.
It's got to be a little higher than that. But for a program that's won 4 tournament games in 30 years, and one of those was a playing game in Dayton, so 3 games in the field of 64 proper.
It's a tournament game, but I get your point.
2 trips to the round of 32, 1 to the Sweet 16.
I mean, they're not paying him over $4 million to come in here and be mediocre, so it's obvious.
I agree, but how much winning? Sweet 16, that satisfies you?
Yes.
Elite 8,
yes.
Final 4.
Final 4 things have to break your way. You have to, if you're a program like BYU, and maybe he can elevate it, but if you're a program like BYU, you're going to have somebody in the bracket upset somebody else. And then you take advantage of that.
Looking at you, NC State.
Whatever it might be, yeah. And so you have to have some breaks go your way. If you're a Kentucky, and I get it, they've stumbled the last couple of years, you shouldn't be needing that.
The expectations at Kentucky are you will take care of business.
Mark Pope, and he's been being crapped on a lot here of late. He had a good season. It was 1 game, and it didn't work, and so that spoiled it to a degree. But if you can step back a little bit from that, it's hard. He had a good season. He brought in a lot of different types of players, non-LDS guys, foreign guys. Jackson Robinson, an American dude, brought him in and developed him. He's in the program. He got better, and that's what we've been screaming for BYU. That's one of the ways they have to have success, is not constantly change over the roster every year, which is an epidemic to a degree that goes far beyond anything that Mark Pope should be faulted for. But you can't be doing that. You have to have some continuity. Dave Rose did that. We talked about it at length with so many role player guys who got better in the program. And Jackson Robinson, primary example. Keeney Young comes in the program. By the time he leaves, he's Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. He wasn't even close to that in the beginning. Same with Jimmer, obviously. And so you need those types of guys. So he's going to have to do that, and expectations are higher because everybody knows he's getting paid over $4 million. And I listened to the interview that they did on the BYU TV with Tom Holmoe. We never talk about contracts, and we never will. You don't have to because it's already out there. You can button it up all you want, but we already know about it. And there you go. Everybody knows about it. And you're going to pay that kind of dough. It's not going to be sneaking into the tournament. It's not going to be going where they go, KC. Is that where and they're going to have that? They extended that, right?
Yeah, the T-Mobile
I was going to
Center.
say going to Vegas, but it's not about that. It's going to KC now where, oh my gosh, we got to win 1 or 2 games to get in. No, you got to be in before you get there like you were this year. That's the expectation.
Multiple Sweet 16s would be a win.
Yeah, but it's got to be season long, too. All the way, like Pope did this year. And obviously more results at the end.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Mike Weir, former Masters champ, next right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined once again by Mike Weir, Masters champion. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How was Augusta? Was it as glorious as always? Is it the best week of the year?
Yeah, it is. It is for me. I mean, the course was phenomenal. it was probably the Thursday and Friday were probably the two toughest days I played that I can remember. I mean, the wind was just brutal. I mean, it was, Thursday was probably, sustained 20 miles an hour, 25 mile an hour. And then you go to Friday and it was 30 to 40 mile an hour. And just kind of bouncing all over the place. Really tough to pull a club, tough putting. When you get fast greens like that and the wind's gusting, you hit a putt and looks online, you catch a little puff of wind or big puff of wind, and you can push that ball 2 or 3 inches offline. And so it played extremely difficult, but the course was phenomenal. And it's a special week for sure.
You had a chip in though, didn't you, on one of the holes?
Yeah, I chipped in on 8. That was kind of the highlight. I played really well. I drove the ball great. Hit a lot of great iron shots. Just was really flat on the greens. I had numerous chances, especially Thursday when the wind was down a little bit, to shoot a really good score. If I could have converted some 8 and 10 footers, numerous 8 and 10 footers, I could have easily shot 68 or 69, been right in the mix. And then Friday when it's blowing like that, it's kind of survival. So you're not going to hit a lot of greens in regulation. You have to be able to chip and get the ball up and down, and I just didn't do that. Whenever I missed a green, I'd chip it up, not stone dead. I was always leaving myself 5 to 10 feet, and I was missing them, and so that was a bit frustrating because I felt like my game was really good, but missed the cut by one shot, missed about a 7-foot putt on the last hole to miss by one, so that was a bummer.
But I saw the picture of the dinner, and it looked like you were front and center. How'd you score that choice position?
They get the short guys in the front, You get the taller guys in the back, and
you and DJ just go to your appointed places. There's no doubt. You two know what you're doing.
Yeah, me and Woozy and Gary Player. Well, Gary gets to sit down in front, but all those shorter guys get the front row.
At the Champions Dinner, do you get to sit next to somebody and meet somebody and really get to know them better? What is the whole vibe like when you're in the middle of that? Or is it a chance to sit next to somebody that you haven't sat next to for 365 days, and this is the one night you get to eat dinner with them and you savor it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think, everybody kind of mingles around up in the balcony in the Champions locker room, for an hour or so before we sit down. And I actually had a great chance to talk with John Rahm for quite a bit. We were kind of sitting around. There was, Spanish dinner. He had a lot of tapas, appetizers, and things before we sat down. And he was telling us a little bit about where he grew up and different cuisine and stuff. And then we got talking about golf and a number of different things. Or myself and Adam Scott and Trevor Immelman and Fuzzy Zeller. And it was great. It was great to hear stories about his upbringing and get to know him a little better because I didn't know John very well. And then, he was nervous about the dinner, and he did a great job. The dinner was great. He gave a great speech. And then when you sit down, I kind of sit in the far corner where I sit beside Vijay Singh. Gary Player's kind of in our area, and Charles Cootie and Trevor and Adam Scott are right there. Charles Schwartzel sits, was to the left of me. And yeah, like you said, 365 days. A lot of the time, that's the only time I see the guys, and you get to catch up on what's going on in their life. And Gary Player is a great storyteller. In fact, I played with Gary on Sunday before the tournament, and we played Sunday 18 holes. He's 88 years old, and man, I couldn't take my eyes off him. I mean, he hits the ball so well, moves so well for 88 years old, gets through the ball so great. He's just got this real, zeal for life, and he's always really positive and chips and putts great. It's like, man, 88 years old, it's incredible. He shot 77 from the members' tees, but he's beating his age by almost a dozen shots. It's incredible.
Does anybody who has won and is eligible to go, unless there's a health situation, do they not go? Is it you get 100% attendance every year?
Yeah, it seems to be 100% attendance except maybe some health issues. Jackie Burke passed away this year at the age of 100, and he hadn't been to the last few dinners, but he made it up to the dinners right up until he was at 90, early 90s. So guys show up. Jack's there, Ray Floyd, Tom Watson. I said Gary, Charles Cootie, who's in his mid-late 80s now. I think he's 86. So yeah, I think everybody really knows that it's special and makes the effort to get there.
You know, when you were talking about Jon Rahm and you get to talk about some stuff and you kind of left it out there, my brain went straight to LIV and PGA. And I remember when we were talking a couple years ago, and I think PK asked you, it's pretty tense. What happens? You said, hey, if anybody gets out of line, someone like Jack Nicklaus or Gary Player tells you knock it off, you knock it off. But it seems like the temperature's changed now as opposed to the butting heads. It seems like people are searching for, how do we make this work? How does it come together? And I think the thing the PGA Tour has that I don't want to see messed with, just the tradition, the calendar. I know they start with a couple weeks in Hawaii. They do the West Coast. They got it. There's just a pace to it all, which I think is even better since they moved the PGA up. And the thing that LIV has gotten right, I think, is that there is a huge audience for golf all around the world. And so it feels like if they put some of those global events in the fall, and the global events don't work because of time zones for TV. Yeah, well, we're all watching the NFL in the United States, so it doesn't matter so much. It feels like the tours can meld together. Now, who gets the money and who owns it and who divvies it up, man, that's all beyond me. But it does feel like there's a chance to blend these two together, and it seems like there's more of a willingness. Do you get that vibe when you're in a room with people who are on opposite sides of the fence and maybe it was a little more heated 2 years ago?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a little less heated. I would say it's still a little bit awkward. Certainly among certain guys, it's certain guys maybe kind of stay to themselves a little bit more. But I do think that's what the tour is working towards with PIF, and they're trying to figure out a way to your point, maybe make it a little bit more global. And I know LIV and PIF are big on team golf, where the traditionalists like myself and people who follow golf for a long time, golf's in a good spot when it's just stroke play 72 holes. I think it's a great product. Now, I think you can have room for some team golf, maybe in the fall, like you said, and around the world to showcase the game. Me personally, I think the format over there is, not great. I mean, 3 rounds and guys starting at the same time. I get it why they do it, maybe for betting, so everybody's on the golf course at the same time. They all get done at the same time. I get that, but if the 3 of us are contending in a tournament and trying to win a tournament, and you're finishing on an easy par 5, and I'm finishing on the hardest hole in the course, and PK's finishing on another hole, I mean, how how are you going to determine the winner when the pressure's on, when you're finishing on these different holes? That's why I think stroke play is the best way. But I think there's room. I think, from what I've heard behind the scenes, I'm kind of like you guys. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but I think they're trying to work towards some sort of resolution where the two entities can kind of merge together a little bit better. And we, as a golf fan, I want to see Jon Rahm playing against Scotty Scheffler right now, 2 of the best players. I don't like that they're not competing against each other except in the majors. So hopefully they can figure something out here soon. But we've been kind of left in the dark as PGA Tour players. There's, from our perspective, I think a lot of players' perspective, it's just kind of puzzling that we don't know anything, and maybe they don't know anything. Maybe that's why they're not relaying anything. But certainly seems odd after this long a time that nothing's been figured out yet.
Yeah, it just seems like Rahm is retired almost. Like I don't know where you are, buddy. I mean, I literally saw you last year with my own eyes when I went to Palm Springs, when I went to Phoenix. Now I don't know. Maybe the Vegas thing I watched a little bit this year because I didn't go to Phoenix for the first time in a decade because we went to my wife and I went to Kapalua. And so we got to walk around there, and she got to have get this, Mike, she got to have a picture taken with her crush, and her crush is Ricky Fowler. And so while I was interviewing Tony, she got to walk the last 3 holes with Fowler's parents and meet them. Oh, nice. And then got a picture with Ricky. And it's just like, I mean, we want to see the stars. It's like the NBA, man. If I go to a game and LeBron isn't playing, I'm what. And I want to turn on these guys, turn on the TV. The thing about golf is I've been doing it for 50 years. I I know it's Saturday afternoon in the winter, I could turn on the West Coast swing, and then in the spring and summer, and I can watch these guys. Well, now I can't. And as a fan, I don't like it, and that's got to change. And as far as that's my own little editorial. I wanted to hit you up about Scheffler. You know, he's on a phenomenal run right now. And we've seen other guys. You get Tigers over here, put him over there on the separate category. But we've seen other guys with age on their side sort of get, all right, maybe we got something here. Not to say that they're not great players, but I'm talking about I don't know the one we'll see a next Tiger, but maybe start moving that way. And it looks like Scheffler is the latest, whether it's Rory or Spieth, whomever it might be. What are your thoughts about him really starting to take over right now, because it looks like he's got the game?
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, watching him, watching him on Sunday and recently in recent events, how his demeanor, the confidence, the short game, everybody talks about his, he's the best iron player and, best ball striker out there, despite a unique footwork, I guess, that he has.
Yeah, but, really.
He has some happy feet going on there, but he's a tremendous ball striker. But man, when I watch his short game, he chips and putts so well. I mean, I guess they were talking about his putting kind of struggling, but he was third in putting this week, so he may have had a little stretch there where he didn't putt well, but he's a great putter. And I think that someone said it on the telecast the other day that he kind of owns his swing. It's unique, but he owns it. And when I see him practice, it's not real technical. It's not, and I think, I've been guilty of this, trying to get my technique so right that you kind of lose the feel a little bit and you kind of get in your head with your technique instead of playing the game. Well, I think Scotty really plays the game well. He thinks his way around. He's got a great caddy that I think has elevated his game and brought a certain, I guess, calmness and confidence to his game once Ted Scott got on the bag with him. So, yeah, I don't see him slowing down. He certainly doesn't seem like he's going to. I saw his press conference. He said he still wants to put the pedal down here and keep pushing forward. So he's going to be, I don't know if he'll be dominant, but he has a chance to be dominant here in the next for the next 10 years.
There was a time when the guys who won the majors were in their 30s. Until you were 30, you hadn't fully matured as a golfer. But now we've had 10 or 15 years of Rory won young, Spieth won young, Scheffler's winning young, and that's only a partial list. We could go on and on. Do you have any explanation for why guys in their 20s are winning way more and guys in their 30s are winning a lot fewer majors?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that's right, and you're right on. I mean, I think my era was like you kind of learn through experience. I kind of hit my stride in my late 20s or early 30s, mid 30s. Certainly out of college, I wasn't nearly a polished enough player to be on the PGA Tour and be good enough. Now these kids, I think the reasoning is just the coaching so much better, the way they train, all the analytics, a lot of the kids. I played with Neil Shipley, the low amateur at the Masters this year, the first two rounds, and he's a stats major, and he was telling me about all the stuff that how he dissects through all the different stats and stuff. Like when I was in college, we weren't thinking of any of that kind of stuff. And he said he finished second in the U.S. Amateur this past year, and it was in Denver. And I said, how did you adjust to the high altitude and the ball flying a lot more? And he's like, well, I just bring my TrackMan out there and you set it on these settings that, you get your numbers dialed in right away compared to sea level at Ohio State where he plays. So it's a pretty easy transition with all the technology out there now. And I think the coaching's a little bit more refined. And I think all of us guys that were, growing up I was probably the last year, got kind of growing up in the 80s that, there wasn't the technology, maybe early 90s, but we just had to kind of figure it out on the range and just kind of hit a lot of balls and kind of dig it out of the dirt, so to speak, where I think there's a lot more before you go out to practice now, analytics and numbers to say, okay, this is what you need to work on. And you're just a little more efficient with your time. So I think that's why the players are better younger and they're more confident.
Well, when you're a Canadian, you pledge allegiance to hockey, whether you're man, woman, child, or animal, right? I mean, it's a fact.
That is true.
Yeah, and
it's a fact.
We have a hockey team that is on the precipice of joining our community, and as a hockey fan, what are your thoughts?
Man, I am so excited. I love the sport. I grew up playing from the time, it was really my first sport. My first love of sport was hockey. I grew up playing since the time I was, 3 or 4 years old on skates. I didn't start playing golf till I was about 10 or 11 years old. So the dream was to play in the NHL. It was, playing junior hockey, playing pond hockey. My dad used to build a rink in our backyard. All the neighborhood kids, we'd have a number of different rinks in our neighborhood. We'd play at the Weir house some nights. We'd play at the Smith house some nights. We played at the Boucher's house one night. And it's just part of our culture. So, I grew up on the border of Michigan, so I've always been a huge Detroit Red Wing fan. And we had a couple players that played for the Red Wings from Sarnia, where I grew up. And we used to get all the local broadcasts, the ABCs and things of the world were from the Detroit affiliates. So we got all the Detroit Tigers, Lions, and Red Wings. So that's what we grew up watching. I've just always loved the game. I respect the players. It's such a tough sport. I'm totally invested in watching. I was bummed the Red Wings had a nice run, but they lost out for the last playoff spot to the Capitals. But to get a team here, I think the community is really going to love it. I know we're going to have some knowledgeable hockey fans and a lot of new fans that once they get there and go watch it live, they're going to fall in love with the sport. It's such a great sport, and it's so fun live to watch. And it seems like we have a pretty good team. Arizona coming. There's some good young talent there. I don't know a lot of the players, but it's super exciting for the city and Utah.
Red Wings are in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, this will be a Western Conference team, so you don't really have to sell out. And I'm sure Ryan Smith would like to sell you a luxury suite. So, this is all lining up, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be a season ticket holder for sure. My buddies and I have already been talking about it, and no, I'll be there every time I'm home. I'll be at a home game for sure. I love the sport. I've gotten to know a lot of the guys kind of my era over the years. Back in Canada, we used to do a tournament called Gretzky and Friends, and Gretz would get 2 other NHL guys and play me. Their 3 best ball against me. We did that for about 4 or 5 years. We had Mario Lemieux, Brett Hull, and Gretz against me, and we had Jerome McGinley and Joe Sakic and Gretz against me. And the hockey guys are just such great guys, and they love golf. There's a great back and forth with golfers and hockey because the guys, when they have the summer off, they usually go home to Western Canada or Ontario, and they play a lot of golf. So I suspect that a lot of the guys on the incoming Arizona team are big golfers too. So it's always been a great connection with golf and hockey.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I covered some hockey when I worked down in Los Angeles, and man, you look on the media guides that they used to print out and hobbies, golf. I mean, there's like 90% of them. Certainly, the guys from Canada and the U.S. anyway, they were all over it, and obviously the calendar fits for them. And speaking of the calendar, President's Cup is coming up. Tell us about your involvement there.
Yeah, so it's exciting for me. I'm the captain of the international team upcoming in September, where the international team takes on the U.S. and the U.S. guys have kind of handed it to us, in the history of the President's Cup. It's kind of been going on for about 30 years, and we've had some close calls lately, but we haven't won. It was like right down to the final few putts in Australia. The match in Charlotte was swinging our way kind of midway through Sunday, but the U.S. found a way to hold some great putts and a couple chip ins to claim victory. So, to be hosting that for me in Canada is a great honor. And, it's a busy time for me this year because I'm trying to balance playing and all the duties that come with captaining a team like this is kept me quite busy. So, but super exciting. And maybe we can get you guys up there to, host a couple days.
That'd be awesome.
Host a show from Montreal.
Oui.
Yeah. There you go.
PK doesn't know it, but he's not getting any poutine. I'm eating all that. We're not pushing that across the table to PK. It's not happening.
Have they asked you anything about getting involved with the Black Desert PGA thing in October?
Well, they were nice enough to give me a sponsor exemption down there, so I'm going to play down there. I've heard great things. Actually, we're doing a little family reunion on Michelle's side of the family down in St. George in May, and I'm going to get a chance to play the course for the first time, kind of near mid-May. And I've just heard awesome things about Black Desert. I'm super excited to get down there. They're a big champion of women's golf with Michelle's company, and then they're having a LPGA event there as well. So yeah, they're doing some awesome things down there.
I've played it twice. It's fun.
Is it? Yeah, it looks spectacular on Instagram and stuff. The pictures look incredible.
Yeah, with the lava rocks and all and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
So with that and with the President's Cup and all that, what does your schedule look like? How much are you planning on playing here in 2024?
I'm probably going to play, it looks like about 17 or 18 events, which is, 4 or 5 less than probably what I normally would, just because I'm going to Montreal this coming weekend, actually, into early next week. So I'm not playing the event this week in Dallas. And then just going out to some PGA Tour events. There's a lot of turnover in the world of golf these days. The same team from 2022 for us is probably going to be quite a bit different, just 2 years later. So for me to familiarize myself with some of the new and up-and-coming players, I'm trying to get out to some PGA Tour events, especially on the Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays when the guys are playing their practice rounds and pro-ams to, start to build some rapport with them, to start to build camaraderie amongst our team. And, it's interesting, this is the first time I've ever done anything like that. And I've kind of leaned on a lot of hockey guys for advice. My good friend of mine, Doug Armstrong, who's the GM of the St. Louis Blues and has been involved with Team Canada and is actually the GM for the Canadian Olympic team upcoming. And been talking to him a lot about team building and, trying to build this cohesive unit. And so, trying to learn a lot from guys like that who have been there. And so that's taken a little away from some of my tournaments, but that's okay. Next year I'll get back to a full schedule, and it's exciting, for me to captain this team is, super exciting. One of the highlights of my career for sure.
Well, we know you're busy, and we appreciate your time, and I know the listeners appreciate you coming on and getting to hear from you. You're still popular here. You're a Cougar. You're a Draper guy. You're a Canadian. He's
Weirsy, man.
He's Weirsy. There it is. There's the bottom line.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Mike Weir, 2003 Masters champ. That never grows old.
Have you ever played with a Masters champ? Because I have.
I know you have. You can't fully enjoy it unless you find somebody and rub it in, huh?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was cool playing with him, but until I start rubbing it into the average Joe.
And not to say that I was a little nervous. On the first tee, par 5, triple. And then the rest of the time,
settle down.
I either had a bogey or a par. I played boring golf from that time on. It was fascinating to watch his short game, man. It was so fun. The spin he could put on the ball was so cool.
DJ and PK coming up next. Everything you missed in this show. We get you up to date on 3.5 hours of hockey and college basketball.
Salt Lake sucks? How dare they?
Stay with us.
The NHL is coming to Salt Lake City.
It's about time.
I have been waiting decades.
This is huge news.
As Utah prepares to welcome the National Hockey League.
This city has long deserved a second pro squad.
The Zone will have all the coverage from every angle as we'll be with the new team every step of the way. From every moment of the offseason right up to when the puck hits the ice in the fall.
A new era in Utah sports.
Your home for the best coverage of the NHL in Utah is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
They were chanting in Arizona last night, not happy that their Coyotes are moving.
That was mostly my family.
I don't know if they felt like they sucked when they stole the Winnipeg Jets in the mid-'90s, but such is pro sports. Fans make a
Such is life.
Big-time emotional commitment, but commissioners and owners are looking at the bottom line.
I'm torn. The place where I live, the place where I'm from, this is a civil war going on in my mind.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown in Sandy.
Salt Lake sucks.
You see the people talking about what else is Ryan Smith going to take from the Valley of the Sun? Took a basketball coach for BYU and a hockey team for his arena.
I tweeted that out. Or is it X'd out?
Tweeted.
Yeah.
Posted.
We stole your hockey team. Now we stole your associate head coach.
These things happen in threes. What's next?
Next thing you know, there'll be cactus all over the place.
Give us the waste management. We'll call it good.
The People's Open. You take that, I draw the line.
Oh, that's where you draw the line? Okay.
Yes.
How about the National Football League?
I don't think the Cardinals are moving.
No. Oh, did you see the Diamondbacks GM yesterday?
What did he do?
Time may run out on us in Phoenix.
Between this and Kansas City, is this going to derail baseball expansion?
No.
No?
I think he's just threatening.
He is threatening. He's saber rattling.
Because they took out a little thing, some type of, I don't know what it is, some type of initiation to own property in Henderson, Nevada. But I think with the A's moving there, I don't think Vegas is
going to have two teams.
Yeah. I don't think they're ready for that.
New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Las Vegas. Your two-team cities.
Right, and with the Bay Area not having it. So I think he's trying to play it now. So we'll see what happens there. But maybe they could move too. I don't know that there's anything that's better, but we'll see.
Spent a lot of time talking college hoops this morning. A proposition. Are you ready? I'm going to make you a deal.
Okay.
Kevin Young, new head coach, press conference, Merritt Center floor, 7 o'clock.
Kevin Young, forever young.
Jay Drew was on and pointed out, he grew up in Georgia. He has some ties to the area, and his wife went to BYU.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not the tried and true Cougar from Orem High.
Good. I hate them people.
I thought you might. Yawk's in there nodding with the Mountain View. He really hates those people. Orem all the way down there at the other end of the street. Bad seed.
All those Orem people do
Bad
is
seed.
Screw the Tigers.
They just knock and berate Utah State.
If Kevin Young is highly thought of in the NBA, comes to BYU, goes to 2 Sweet 16s in 5 years, and leaves for an NBA job.
We got music playing?
Are you happy? Did it work? Is that an acceptable outcome? Granted, I just pulled it out of thin air, but, play along.
What are we, a lemma? Now we got the underbed of music?
Hey.
Well, I'm just doing what they did last night for Kevin Young, who's introduced. Played Forever Young.
Okay. I don't even remember that.
They played it on his way up. I was chuckling because it was a pretty funny
did?
touch,
We were surrounded by the Cougar faithful, and there was so much applause.
Yeah. I only caught it right as he was getting up towards the podium.
Oh, and they went with Brandon Flowers? They kept it all in the faith?
Sure.
Got to do a TV show about that, all in the faith. I wanted to stand, but you guys wouldn't, so I would have looked odd, so I didn't do it.
We saw you clapping along.
I was vigorously clapping. I had welts on my hands. I was clapping so hard. This is a brand new day, and I'm excited. Kevin Young.
There was one BYU administrator who did point out to me, I appreciated PK giving him a round of applause.
Just have fun with it. What the heck? It's freaking basketball here, man. You can't enjoy it. What's the point? I've said that a million times. It's sports. You're supposed to have fun with it.
You got distracted by the music. You're not going to answer my question, are you?
I forgot your question.
I thought you might have.
Oh, no, I got it now.
He's well thought of, and so an NBA team comes calling. He leaves in 5 years, but they've been to 2 Sweet 16s.
Well, that's what's going to take.
Right. Is that a good deal for BYU?
Yes.
And every Cougar fan has to answer that for themselves.
Was Urban Meyer a good deal for Utah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Was Mark Pope a good deal for BYU?
By and large, yes, because they really didn't have a big-time pool of candidates. Mark Manson hadn't established himself as a college coach the way he did at UVU. So Pope was the 100% obvious. In tracking down that story, I had somebody tell me, stop bugging me. I told you it's going to be Mark Pope, and it's going to be Mark Pope, so leave me alone. And it was.
Awesome.
So, but the world has changed just in a short time.
Yep.
Because I think
the kids have grown up, and there's more candidates now.
Yeah.
People who really weren't on the radar, nor should they have been 5 years ago. But time marches on. People advance their careers, and now there's multiple candidates.
As I said, I thought they were in a great spot. Now, they went after their number one guy, and I told Tom last night, I said, congratulations. I don't know that I necessarily said that word. But they swung for the fences in their eyes. You can argue whether that was the right thing to do, but that's not the point. In their eyes, they swung for the fences, and they got the guy that they wanted.
Will they make sure that he has someone on his staff who can be the next head coach so it's a smooth transition if that day comes? Because you're not...
Yeah, but that day will come.
And you're not doing your job if you're not looking ahead to that as an administrator.
Well, Tom won't be.
Because, but he's here now. Granted, I get your point. In 5 years...
well, there might be others who develop themselves at that point.
That there may be.
And maybe he goes for 10, 15, 20 years.
And that could
Obviously,
happen.
he has got age on his side. He can easily go for 20 years, if not longer.
But under the preparing for all scenarios...
Well, I don't...
you suggest somebody for
you
the
have
staff.
Somebody today... I don't think you hire someone to be heir apparent when you're 42 years old. I think that'll take care of itself. In 5 years, I'd be surprised if Chris Burgess is not a head coach somewhere. Whether it's a lower level, whether it's at Utah or Utah State or
Big
whom or
Sky,
wherever.
Big West, WAC, somewhere.
And so they will have the pool will constantly expand for BYU. I don't think it'll shrink. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Some of them want to coach. And the thing about this guy is he fits the mold. The guy's a grinder. Look at his resume. He's been all over the place. He's 42 years old, and he's had like 20 jobs. And I've got Ainge vouching for him, who's a basketball guy. I've got Devin Booker vouching for him. Devin Booker! He's an all-star, man. I would love to have Devin Booker be playing here, and he's recommending him. You got Vogel saying it. Come on, man. If this guy bombs, well, man, that would be a shocker because everybody and their dog is singing his praises.
Finally, new news. You ready for this story? From AP Oddities. Check the scales. Researchers in India have found fossils of an ancient giant snake that could have been longer than a school bus. Researchers estimate the snake stretched an estimated 36 to 50 feet and might have weighed up to a ton. Would you like to run into that out
I
in
don't
the
know that
desert?
that's a snake. There's got to be another word for it.
DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. Golfers, you don't want to miss You in a Golf. The multi-vendor demo and fitting event is this Saturday from 10 to 4 at Milligan's Golf and Games. This big one-day event is your chance to demo the hottest new products, meet with golf manufacturers, reps, and get custom fit for your new clubs. And all purchases are backed by the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go to theworldwidegolf.com and book your custom fitting today.
Okay.
This Saturday, Mulligan's Golf and Games. Get there.
Sweet.
Tyson says to our question of the morning here, Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith on the NHL in Salt Lake City. I have incredible faith in the people of Utah. We show up, it'll be packed. Are you going to be part of the package? Tyson says if the tickets are affordable, I'll try and hit at least one game a year, if it's possible. I bought a ticket for me to go to the Frozen Fury game. That'll be in September. Once the tickets for the new NHL team go on sale, if they're affordable, I'll buy a ticket or two.
Well, what's your definition of affordable and where do you want to sit? Because I think if you just generally look at it, yes. But I don't know what your financial situation is. Everyone's is different.
Austin says, no, I'm not in. Southern Utah fan here, and I'm already supporting the Knights.
Oh, we have a divide?
We do.
Those folks down there?
Somewhere around Fillmore? Panguitch? Where do you draw the line?
Cedar.
Cedar.
You include Cedar. But
Cedar
once you get to Beaver, then it's no.
Cedar
you're
goes
ours.
Cedar goes south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But all graduates of Beaver High School must root for the team to the north.
It's just the way it is, man.
Period. End of story. Cheese Fry says Utah fans are boycotting.
Utah fans?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Who? Oh, U of U fans you're speaking of?
U fans, yeah.
Oh, because they're jealous?
Because Ryan got tax money and then turned around and gave money to BYU. So they're out. Although another Ute says, of all the dumbest tweets I've seen. Cheese Fries goes back, oh yeah, we'll read some of yours. So we'll let those two go. Utah County, you don't speak for us. Cringe. Find you cringy. All right, DJ and PK, we are all done. Coming up next, Jake and Ben right here on The Zone.